coming to our regular council meeting. We're getting ready to start our meeting, so Madam Clerk, I apologize, I'm thinking this is CRA. Can you do roll call, please?
7:09 p.m. Mayor Desilmay, Vice Mayor Estimé Irvin.
Present.
Councilman Galvin. Here. Councilwoman Timothy. Councilman Charles.
Present.
Vice Mayor, you have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you. And can we all stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after which we'll have the invocation by Reverend Nathaniel Sutton of Bethel New Life Ministries.
Good evening. My name is Major Horn. Please, everyone stand up, place your right hand above your heart, over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you and we bless you and we praise you for your grace and your goodness. We thank you for the wonderful city of North Miami. We pray, God, that you will bless every resident, that you will bless every citizen, that you will bless tonight's council meeting, that you will bless our mayor and all the councilmen and women, that you will guide tonight's meeting with your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding for the purpose of the good and the empowerment of the city of North Miami. For that, we thank you, we praise you in Christ's name. Somebody say, amen.
Amen.
Amen. You can be seated. Okay, is the order of business set? Is the agenda set?
It is not, Madam Vice Mayor. I'm going to go in reverse order. Tab Z has been requested to be pulled by the applicant.
Just give us a second so we can all catch up with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Tab T will be taken before Tab S, so we're just going to swap those items.
Tab T before S. Okay.
And if the council is amenable, Tab Q and R, administration is asking that they be placed on consent. These we have briefed. These are the pay plan and the health care plan for this evening.
Tab R and
Q.
I'll make a motion that Q and R are put on the consent agenda.
is there a consensus?
Second.
Okay. Any other change?
All in favor?
No, wait, did we go all the change yet?
Yes, that would be the last one.
We did do all the change.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to place Q and R, tabs Q and R on the consent agenda. Seconded by Councilman Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with a 3-0 vote.
Okay, so the next thing we'll have is we'll have some special presentation. There'll be a proclamation presented to Development Services Department in honor of the Walkabout Month, Walkathon Month, whatever that is. Proclamation to Development Services Department in honor of Community Planning Month, and a special proclamation for Scott Galvin. We're excited about that. Special proclamation from Scott Galvin to Eminem. I'm sorry. Oh, there's a surprise for you. Ha ha ha. But anyway, let's all go down for the presentation, please. Thank you.
That's cute.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, residents that are watching us over. I am Vice Mayor Mary Estime Irvin, and today I have the privilege of presenting a proclamation to the Community Planning Month. So whereas change is constant and affects all city, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places, and whereas planners can help navigate this change with data-driven insight and expert that provides better choices for how people work and live, whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningful and involved with making choices that determine the future of their community, and whereas the full benefit of planning requires public elected and appointed officials who understand and support the demand of excellence in planning and plan implementation, and whereas the month of October is designed as the National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories, and whereas the American Planning Association endorses the National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to every community and how planners are uniquely positioned to identify solutions to communities' most difficult housing, transportation, and land use questions. And whereas the celebration of the National Community Month gives us an opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of appointed Planning Commission members who have contributed their times and expertise in the improvement of the city of North Miami. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by our professional planning staff of the City of North Miami and extend a heartfelt thanks to the continued commitment in our public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, Alex Ezume, Mayor of the City of North Miami, along with Vice Mayor Mary Estime Irvin, Councilman Scott Galvin, Councilwoman Cassandra Timothy, Councilman Pierre Franchal, do whereby declare October 24th as Community Planning Month in the City of North Miami, and in doing so, do recognize the impact of planning has on our community. So Community Planning Month. So thank you so much, and we have a great director, Debbie Love, so we are just very proud as council to present this proclamation to you, and I'm sure you have a few words.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, council members. My name is Debbie Love. I'm the Director of Development Services, and Community Planning Month really celebrates the role that planners play in guiding our development in our city. And I'd like to recognize our Assistant Director for Land Use Services, Mr. Derek Cook. He and the support staff and our professional planners, we appreciate this honor. Thank you again, Vice Mayor.
All right, and we're going to have a proclamation for October month, but I'm going to invite Councilman Galvin to present this proclamation. So if you could come right on along.
Thank you. All right, so I thought I heard her say Walktober, and I thought we were going to talk about Chinese food, but this is actually walk, as in you're taking a walk, Walktober month. Whereas the City of North Miami is committed to promoting a healthier, more active community where residents are encouraged to prioritize wellness, whereas walking is one of the easiest and most accessible ways to improve physical health and mental health. Now you tell me. Whereas walking also offers important environmental benefits, including reducing traffic congestion, lowering vehicle emissions, and creating a cleaner, greener community. Whereas pedestrian safety is a key priority for North Miami, and the city remains dedicated to ensuring that our streets and public spaces are safe and enjoyable for walkers of all ages. Whereas Walktober is a time to remind our community of the many advantages of walking, whether for health, leisure, or a sustainable mode of transportation. Whereas the City of North Miami encourages all residents to explore the city on foot, appreciating our beautiful parks, scenic routes, and walkable neighborhoods. Now, therefore, Alex DeSulme, the mayor of the City of North Miami, and the entirety of the City Council do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Walktober month in the City of North Miami. Somebody here from Walktober? Oh, you look just like Debbie Love. There you go. There you go. Want to talk about Walktober?
Right. I am Debbie Love. That's good. Well, we certainly are excited that Mayor and Council proclaims October 2024 as Walktober. This initiative, and I'm going to read this real quick. This initiative reflects our commitment to a healthier community. Walking is an easy way to enhance our well-being while reducing traffic and emissions, making our city greener, as the councilman said. Let's explore, get out there, let's explore our parks. That's why it's October, it's a little cooler, still not as cool as we'd like. And I encourage everyone to make walking as part of your routine. It's something easy to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So North Miami's District 1 and North Miami as a whole have an incredible amount of hidden jewels and really fun things that there are to do at any given time. Many of you who've been around for years and years will know about the pony farm that's at North Miami's Enchanted Forest Park, formerly run by Shirley Chance. Rockin' Inn Ranch, I think, was what the official title was. For decades, the Pony Ranch at Enchanted Forest has been a mainstay and a magnet for families all across the community. So tonight we're going to recognize M&M Equestrian Farm. Whereas M&M Equestrian Farm, founded by Melissa Benton, who's here with us tonight, in 2016, continues the rich legacy of equestrian traditions at the Enchanted Forest in North Miami. Whereas Melissa Benton, a lifelong equestrian from Ocala, Florida, brings her extensive experience in horsemanship and farm management to the equestrian farm. Whereas M&M Equestrian Farm has expanded beyond its reputation for pony rides, offering transformative and therapeutic programs for individuals of all ages. Whereas M&M Equestrian Farm's innovative programs such as Mommy and Me, Farm School, and Forest Bathing. No, it's not what you're thinking. It's for the animals. It promotes family connections, environmental stewardship, and an appreciation of nature, whereas M&M Equestrian Farm has successfully incorporated its multisensory farm academy to benefit children with autism and spectrum disorders. Whereas the farm is home to North Miami's Police Department mounted unit horses, Pouncer, Lexus, I like that you got all their names in here, Pouncer, Lexus, and Cashmere, providing care and home to these beloved members of the community, whereas the M&M Farm, through its equine competitions, educational programs, and community events, brings visitors from around the world to North Miami. And it's not on here, but it should be, whereas M&M Equestrian Farm is home to Jimmy the Donkey. If you haven't met Jimmy, get out there and meet him. Now, therefore, the mayor of the city of North Miami, Alex DeSulme, on behalf of the entire North Miami City Council, do hereby proclaim October 19th, 2024 as M&M Equestrian Farm Day in the city of North Miami. Melissa, you want to come up?
Hello, I'm Melissa Benton from M&M Equestrian Farm. We are Very thrilled to be here today, and thank you so much, Councilman Galvin, for this proclamation. We are so happy to be a part of the North Miami family and to bring the animals and the horses and everyone to the community. We enjoy serving the community, everyone from the community, from little to big, and we have so many programs that we have implemented, and we hope to continue to do that even more in the years to come. Thank you guys so much.
And that concludes our proclamation. But wait, Scott, we have one last thing. So it's not a secret that everyone knows that Councilman Scott Galvin is our longest-serving elected official in the history of North Miami. He has actually served for 25 years, and I've had the pleasure of serving 5 of those years with him, and we all have served with him in our various years and capacity. And you know, we've been telling you all along that we're going to miss you, and we're really going to miss you. And so tonight, unfortunately, the mayor could not be here because he's under the weather, but he wanted to make sure that I presented the key of the city of North Miami. Since you've only been here 25 years, you should have the key, that we're presenting to you the key. So the city of North Miami presents Scott Galvin, District 1. Thank you for 25 years of committed service, leadership, and dedication, an exceptional public servant to the people and the city of North Miami. Your contributions will never be forgotten. And this is from Mayor Alex Zumé, presented October 22, 2024.
So I've been on a farewell tour longer than Cher. I'm most proud. I have a lot of things I could say that I'm. Hey, Councilwoman. There's a lot of things that I've done in 25 years I could say I'm proud of. God, I could go on, but I'm only going to bring up one right now, and that's that I took my job as being a city councilman incredibly seriously. In 25 years of being in office, I never missed a CRA meeting, a budget meeting, or a council meeting. I don't know what the math of all that is, but that's a lot of meetings. Every second and fourth Tuesday night and other nights throughout the process, I was here because I've taken very seriously my job of representing the people. North Miami is my hometown. It's special to me in ways that you wouldn't know, and you've honored me in ways that you wouldn't know. So thank you for this tonight. Thank you for allowing me to serve, and peace out, guys. I'll see you in 25 years.
Vice Mayor, as of 7:26, Councilwoman Cassandra Timothy is present.
All right, thank you. And next we'll have our city announcements.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, North Miami neighbors, and guests. My name is Savannah Smith, and I'm presenting the following announcements on behalf of the City of North Miami. Come along for Sing and Read Storytime every Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the North Miami Public Library. This unique storytime combines singing and reading to spark a love for learning. Every fourth Saturday of the month from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., the North Miami Public Library is hosting a first-time homebuyers education workshop in Creole. To register, please call 305-652-7616. Bring your kids to Griffin Community Center on select teacher planning dates for a fun-filled day. Open to children ages 6 to 14 from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. This day camp offers games, activities, and more. Don't forget to pack lunch and snacks. For more details, visit northmiamifl.gov/parks or call 305-895-9840. Mayor Alex Asume invites you to a street naming ceremony honoring Mr. Rainin Katz, Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, beginning at 1 p.m. The street naming ceremony will take place on Northeast 18th Avenue between Northeast 122nd Street and Northeast 123rd Street. District 2 Councilwoman Cassandra Timothy invites you to the How to Apply Housing Workshop on Thursday, October 24th at 6 p.m. in the Scott Galvin Community Center, 1600 Northeast 126th Street, North Miami, Florida. Florida City Government Week is in full swing. Join Vice Mayor Mary Estime Irvin for a week of events. To see the full list of events, visit www.northmiamifl.gov/celebrate. The City of North Miami's annual Haunted Trails is coming soon. Are you ready for a spooktacular event at Enchanted Forest Elaine Gordon Park? The gates open at 7 p.m. Get ready for a night you won't forget while enjoying an evening of scary hay rides, costume contests, trick-or-treating, food, and rides. Tickets are available at nomitrails.eventbrite.com. Purchase yours today. Work together to keep North Miami beautiful. Join North Miami Vice Mayor Mary Estime Irvin for the North Nomi Community Cleanup as part of Florida City Government Week 2024. It's on Saturday, October 26, 2024 from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the Griffin Community Center. Learn how to create and care for your own tea garden at home. The North Miami Public Library and the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Services Extension invites you to grow your own Florida tea garden. The event will take place on Saturday, October 26th from 10:30 a.m. beginning at 10:30 a.m. at the North Miami Public Library. The Griffin Community Center is closed for maintenance on Monday, October 28, 2024 to Tuesday, November 5, 2024 for maintenance. The after-school program will be relocated to the Joe Celestine Center. Get ready for a scary night at Sunkist Grove. Join Councilman Pierre Franz Charles for the District 4 Halloween Block Party on Thursday, October 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. There will be free food, music, games, and a bounce house for all to enjoy. Don't miss out on this fun-filled community event taking place at 12665 Northwest 8th Avenue. Calling all voters. November 5th, 2024 is the general election, but early voting is now open. Voting locations are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The Friends of the North Miami Public Library present healthy cooking. Learn new recipes, explore fresh ingredients, and take home practical meals you can whip up in your kitchen. All skill levels are welcome. If you can't make the November 8th session, don't worry, there are more lessons to come. It's that time of year again. Brewfest is here and taking over Nomi Village on November 16, 2024. Grab your tickets today and use code NOMI20 for 20% off. What a monumental time in the city of North Miami. The 49th annual Winter National Thanksgiving Day Parade is around the corner. This friendly family event promises to be a morning filled with fun, excitement, and holiday cheer. Let's kick off the holiday season together. To stay up to date with NOMI news, events, programs, and services, log on to North Miami's official website at www.northmiamifl.gov. Click Connect with NOMI on the homepage to sign up for the city's newsletters. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at North Miami FL. On Twitter, follow NOMI News. This concludes the city announcements. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Savannah, for your announcement. So for our hurricane preparedness, I'd like to welcome Assistant Chief Ann Rivera. Why can I remember your first name, Chief? Angel
evening.
Rivera, there you go.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council, and North Miami residents. Angel Rivera, Assistant Chief of Police. So as most of you know, 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene struck our Florida's central coast, that community was hit with a second storm as Hurricane Milton made landfall October 9th as a Category 3. Early estimates suggest that the damage is upwards of $180 billion, so that community is in dire need. And as such, our city's emergency manager, along with 9 other North Miami police officers, have been deployed to that region and are currently providing assistance. So our emergency manager is not here, so I'll stand in his stead. Good news is that I don't have much to report. On a note of optimism, so Milton is the 3rd storm to strike our state, and there's no other year on record where more than 3 storms have struck Florida, so we hope that trend continues this year. Looking at the weather report, I looked at the National Hurricanes Weather Center 2-day outlook, and there's only one named storm out there. Some of you have maybe heard it, Tropical Storm Oscar, which struck the southwestern portion of Cuba yesterday, and I think today was over the central Bahamas. However, the good news is that this storm will not have an impact here in North Miami. And lastly, as you guys are reminded quite often by our emergency manager, hurricane season goes till November 30th, so we still have some time to go, although it's quite promising, right? We're near the end of October. So as such, I'm going to give you, some of the general tips that he has always provided you. Okay, first thing we have to, if you haven't prepared, prepare now, right? So the first thing we have to think about emergency food supplies, right? Non-perishable items, boxed goods, things of that sort. Also, for those of us that take medication, make sure you stock up and have at least 2 weeks supply of medication. And then lastly, we talk about emergency power sources. We're gonna store up on batteries, gasoline generators if you have them, make sure you test them. And as always, you can always check out our city's website, or you could just Google search North Miami Emergency Management and you'll have more tips. And Vice Mayor, if there are no questions, that's all I have.
And I think there are no questions. Thank you so much for your report. So we'll go forward with appointments, please.
A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, appointing members to the North Miami Youth Council in accordance with Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 11, Section 2-257 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. And the name of these new appointees are Clara Fueda Saint-Amour, Stacy Coutier, Estelle Muriel Joseph, Marie-Claire Amboise, and Jeffrey Sinclair.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the board appointments to the Youth Council. The motion was seconded by Councilman Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you. We'll have the consented agenda.
Unless a member of the City Council wishes to remove a specific item from this portion of the agenda, tabs A through N and Q and R constitute the consent agenda. These resolutions and items are self-explanatory and are not expected to require additional review or discussion. These items will be recorded as individually numbered resolutions adopted unanimously by the following motion: that the consent agenda comprised of tabs A through N and Q and R be adopted.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Charles to approve the consent agenda, tabs A through N and Q and R. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries with a 4-0 vote.
Okay, thank you. Tab O.
Tab O, a proposed resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the interim city manager to issue purchase orders to South Florida Lighting Team, LLC, doing business as Miami Christmas Lights for the provision of lighting and holiday decorations for the city's 2024 holiday lighting program in an amount not to exceed $200,000, waiving competitive bidding in accordance with Section 7-120, parentheses, capital B of the North Miami Code of Ordinances, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. Tab O.
Any presentation?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the presentation for the lighting for the holidays for the city, and we have South Florida Lighting Team LLC as the proposed bid, the proposed vendor. We are moving forward with a waiver of competitive bidding if the council is able to move forward with a 4/5 vote.
Public hearing is now open on the item.
Good evening, Council, Madam Director, and Mr. Secretary and fellow constituents. I'm here opposing the waiving of the competitive bidding. I'm appalled, honestly, that we only approved a budget of $200,000 for traffic calming, and yet we have $200,000 for holiday lights. I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of the year, but there should be other vendors bidding on this to see if we can get a more competitive rate, because this amount is just deplorable. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is now closed.
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second?
I just have a discussion or item. First of all, thank you for your comment, whoever made it. Well, I know who made it. This is a contract, and if you would explain, Christine, that is not so easy to find. I know this from...
Correct. Good evening, Christine Carney, Parks and Recreation Director. So it is not easy to find. There was quotes that we did receive. It wasn't just from one company. We had multiple companies come out and do a walkthrough of all the areas, and they did proposals. There were multiple cities that we have looked at as well, which go to well over what we were quoted as to get the product that we will receive.
Right. So the only thing that I'd like to say is, I saw that you had 10 locations. I'd like to just make sure there are 2 other locations included, which would be on 2nd Avenue Northeast between 125th and 135th, and then make sure that West Dixie from 123rd to 143rd is included in your scope of work.
We can look at that. It is going to be additional funds from what the proposals were submitted, or we can rearrange some of the items that were addressed or some of the areas that were addressed to fit other areas in request.
So, well, then that could be addressed with administration, and if the council is okay with that, we could just direct the administration to make the adjustment that needs to happen. Is that fine? Go ahead. Sure.
Similarly, I'd like to find a location, and I spoke with the manager about this today, find a location that's in District 1 that we could also light up. Don't know what that would be, but, you know.
Definitely. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Or manager, sorry. Okay. So yes, we can. The company is here, and we can work through some of the things that they've proposed to us and just making sure that we have different areas. Again, the proposal isn't saying that this is the only area. We did talk about maybe changing some areas if we wanted to, but that's something that we'll have to discuss with the company. Not to say that it's a no, it's just making sure that they have the product in-house and that they're able to do it for what we want.
So the only thing is, I'd like to make sure that the address that I stated on record are included. And you would just talk to the administration with the support of my colleagues to make sure, and also with District 1. That's all. So,
Me too, Madam Vice
Sure.
Mayor. There was an area that I brought up, Madam Manager, during budget time to address in this Christmas lighting as well, that it's not included. So maybe we need to have a sidebar. Remember, we talked about a location in District 2. So, because I'm looking at the location, I'm just like, yeah, if we can kind of maybe spread it throughout the city.
If we're adding locations, I do believe, since this is stated as a not to exceed amount, that the amount will need to change.
So you mentioned to me on the phone this evening
We
that
were going to remove and add, reconfigure some of the areas
So should
that
we
would
bring
not
this item
affect the
back?
amount, but if we're saying not to exceed amount, and we're adding locations, then we do need to address the amount that's being approved this evening, because if it's a not to exceed amount and the additional locations.
the company is here, is there an estimation?
They are here if you would like, but there also depends on what we want, right? It can go, it can be pretty inexpensive to something super expensive. Just,
I'm asking for lights, just white lights.
okay.
In my case, this is just off the top of my
Yeah.
head. Enchanted Place decorates every year.
Right.
That's a monster draw. Maybe there's something we do there that supplements.
On 135th, like
Oh.
entering, like before you enter.
Right, or
Something.
even on the street, on the light poles, or something like that, because the neighbors there all buy their own stuff. And if there's a neighbor who can't afford it that year, they sometimes just throw a couple lights in a bush. So mine would not be a gigantic addition. It would just, in theory, be something in and around Enchanted Place to supplement what's already going on.
Understood.
So could we amend that amount to add another
Maybe we should-
25,000
Should
to
we
it?
table it to see?
Or-
what they-
If you table it, I'm going to tell you that items need to be, it needs to be something that we schedule now. The longer we wait, the longer companies get filled with other,
Right, so,
Maybe we give, we,
so my suggestion is that we move with this. If there's an adjustment, it just comes to us and.
or give the city manager the authorization to execute.
Yeah, this will be here before you know it. And Enchanted Place starts putting up its lights on November 4th.
yes,
FYI. Yeah,
Right.
So it's
our
it's a
guys do that,
process.
yeah, it is, yeah.
All right. So I have a motion and a second.
Well, do we have to amend it and just remove the not to exceed amount so that the city manager can negotiate and, okay, so we'll do that. We'll remove the
So
not
what-
to exceed amount. Of
Okay.
course, not to-
So Councilman Charles, you would have to
Make an amendment.
sign on, like, make that motion to approve tab O with the removal of the not to exceed amount, providing authority to the city manager to negotiate and execute the agreements.
All right, so, yeah, I'll keep the motion with the amendment. And, should be good to go.
Councilman Galvin, do you
Yes.
accept it?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I have a motion.
Yes, sir, to the councilman. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
because
to
it,
the city
it never
clerk.
gave, it never gave man. It never gave man. I have a motion made by Councilman Charles to approve the item at tab O with the modification that we are striking out the not to exceed amount and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the agreement for this item. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you. Tab P.
Tab P, a proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the issuance of a second change order to the professional services agreement between the city of North Miami and ACOM Technical Services, Inc. for additional professional engineering services needed for the rehabilitation of Pump Station A in an amount not to exceed $59,798.17, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. Tab P.
Public hearing is open on this item. Public hearing is open. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. May I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second?
Is that clear? Do we need an explanation?
I have a motion made by Councilman Charles to approve the item at tab P. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you.
Tab Q.
Tab Q and R were moved to the consent agenda.
Thank you. For the reminder, tab S. No, tab T.
Yes.
Go ahead.
A proposed first reading of ordinance of the City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, repealing Section 19-98 Water and Sewer Capacity Fees in Chapter 19 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Utilities, amending Chapter 29 entitled Land Development Regulations, Article 3 entitled Development Review, specifically at Division 14, New Development Impact Fees. Repealing transportation impact fees, adopting new stormwater impact fees, combining parks and library impact fees, combining general government and police impact fees, amending land use categories within the parks and recreation fees on the basis of, within the parks and recreation and general government impact fee schedules, assessing water and sewer impact fees on the basis of water meter capacity rather than land use type. Adopting a updated impact fee study, providing for purpose and intent, providing definitions, providing rules of construction, providing findings, providing for conflict severability, providing for repeal, providing for codification, and providing an effective date. Tab T.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council. Debbie Love, for the record, Debbie Love, Development Services Director. Joining us this evening virtually is our consultant, Clancy Mullen. We, as you all remember, back in January, you approved a contract to update our impact fees that had not been updated since the initial study was done in 2007 and implemented in 2010. So with that, I'm going to be playing Vanna White, changing the slides. And so, Mr. IT, can you have Mr. Mullen? And I just wanted to ask, do you want a full presentation for both this and the mobility fee tonight?
A short version?
I'm assuming you do? Okay.
Only because I think I got a couple of calls and emails about this one, so I just had quite a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm seeing so many fees and I got dizzy.
Okay. Clancy, would you, Mr. Mullen, would you kindly unmute, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen, again, thank you for joining us. The City Council is excited to hear your presentation about the impact fees, and I will be changing the slides for you. Just let me know when you want me to proceed.
Okay, yeah, for the record, Clancy Mullen, President of Duncan Associates. So this presentation will briefly cover the impact fee study and extraordinary circumstances analysis. This is basically the same presentation that we've made at the workshops. In the interest of time, we might skip a few slides and just make this really brief. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So legal basics, the impact fees must be proportional to the impact of development based on the existing level of service, spent only on improvements that add capacity. So that means you're not spending it on replacement, repair, maintenance, or operations, and reduced to account for outstanding debt on existing improvements. A little overview of the study itself. So the current fees are based on studies from 2007. They were all adopted in 2010. Water and sewer at 100%, the rest at 50%. So the changes in this update, the transportation fees, of course, are to be repealed, replaced with a mobility fee, which you'll hear about in the next presentation. Parks and library fees are combined into a single fee, Parks and Recreation fee. Police and general government are combined in the general government fee. There's a new stormwater fee being added. That's not mentioned in this slide, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the water and sewer fees are based on meter size rather than land use categories. The fee schedules are being simplified. We're using broader, more general categories in this update. The original studies were basically designed to be consistent with the transportation fees, which are being repealed, and they're really more specific than we need, that's really appropriate actually for parks and general government. And the water and sewer fees currently have 50 land use categories. That's going to be replaced by meter size, in which case there's only 11 types of meters that the city currently uses. So this will be a vast simplification, be much easier to administer and to calculate fees for new development. So the phase-in of the impact fee increases has been required since 2021. unless extraordinary circumstances are found to exist. And that's what we're going to mostly focus on in this presentation. And the fees are increasing for Parks and Rec, general government, and water. Next slide. So there were a couple of questions for the Planning Commission that we should probably, some of you may have the same questions. One is, will an existing homeowner pay more to add onto or demolish, replace their home? So there would be no new park or general government fee or additional fee assessed for a replacement or enlargement of a home, because those are assessed per dwelling unit. As long as you don't increase the number of dwelling units, there shouldn't be any fee. There wouldn't be an additional water or sewer impact fee unless you need a larger water meter. And there would be a new stormwater, the new stormwater fee would be required for any additional impervious cover beyond what's already existing on the site. Another question they asked is the updated study based on changes from 2007? The answer is no. This is a brand new study. It doesn't depend on changes from the 2007 study. It's based on the cost of existing facilities, the current level of service provided to existing development, and the recommended method of fee calculation and assessment. Next slide. So this just briefly presents the fee changes. In the top chart, the current fees are shown for parks and general government, and those fees include, parks includes the current parks and library fees combined, and the general government fee also includes the police fee. Then it shows the updated fees in the second two columns, and finally it shows the percent change. And there, because of the phasing, it's really determined by the biggest percentage change of any land use category. And so it's multifamily for parks, and it's retail commercial for general government, and those are highlighted. Now, the utility impact fees are difficult to compare because we're switching the basis from land use to meter size, but we can compare the smallest meter to the current single-family fee, which almost always requires the smallest meter. And that shows that water is going up extensively, 300% for the smallest meter, but it's going down for sewer. And that's, likely going to be the impact on the fees in general that are being collected. And the stormwater fee is currently, well, you don't have one currently. It would be 78 cents per square foot of impervious cover, although that's not actually shown here. Let's go to the next slide. Phasing requirements, any increase up to 25% must be phased in over 2 years. Any increase greater than 25 and up to 50% must be phased in over 4 years. Fees may not be increased more often than once in 4 years, and the phased increases must be in equal annual amounts. Now, there is an extraordinary circumstances option, so a needs analysis needs to be prepared that demonstrates the extraordinary circumstances, and that has been prepared, was prepared in September. 2 publicly noticed workshops must be held. Those workshops have already been held. The ordinance adopting the increases that vary from the phasing requirements must be adopted by a 2/3 majority of the governing body. Next slide. Extraordinary circumstances. So once again, this just applies. We're not talking about sewer We're not talking about stormwater because that's a new fee. And we're not talking about transportation because that fee will be repealed when the ordinance is adopted. So in brief, the fees have not been updated in 17 years. Costs have increased significantly. The city has significant capital improvement needs in each of these categories, and phasing would have negative revenue effects. And I think we could probably just leave it here. I mean, we talk about the individual ones, but again, this presentation has been presented to the public in 2 workshops, unless you want to go through the remaining slides. I would conclude the presentation.
If I may, Vice Mayor, I would recommend that you hear the remaining slides, since you were not present at the workshops. Some of you were unable to attend. Would you please, would that be okay with you all?
That's fine.
So the park fees, like the other fees, have not been updated in 17 years. And still the fees are increasing only modestly, less than 50%. So this would require, so basically the issue here is that it's going to take, and the fees are increasing less than just the consumer price index had increased since 2007. And they were adopted at 50%. So this is just bringing the fees up to date, but still with phasing, you would have to wait 4 years to fully implement the fees in 4 stages. So we think that rises to the level of extraordinary circumstances. A major capital need is to purchase the Galvin Community Center, which is currently rented.
Can I correct that on the record? The city has completed the purchase of that community center. It was closed on September 30th.
Okay. Well, the city has other capital needs as well, so there's definitely capital needs that could be met. You would collect $320,000 less over a 4-year period with phase in than with immediate adoption. Next slide. General government fees have not been updated in 17 years. Again, building costs since then have increased 85%. So along with the 50% adoption, this would fully account for the single family increase. Although again, we're not basing the fees on changes from 2007. Capital needs, the city has plans to build an expanded City Hall police station for roughly $200 million. Obviously, not all of that would be eligible for impact fees because some of it would be replacing the current City Hall and police station. The effects of phasing, you'd collect about 12% less over the next 4 years than you currently are collecting. You'd collect $2.4 million less over the 4-year phase-in than without phasing. It would require 22 years to fully implement updated fees. Okay, finally, water. Again, the fees have not been updated in 17 years. Water treatment costs have increased 500%. Most of this increase is due to the need to comply with new EPA rules, or much of it at least, as well as just regular cost increases. But something needs to be done about, water treatment costs at the current plant. Again, not all of that would be eligible, and the cost would be $120 million to expand the existing treatment plant under just that standalone option. So there's a huge capital need for water impact fees. The effects of phasing would require 14 years to fully implement the updated fees. You collect 43% less revenue in the next 4 years than you would with immediate adoption. Next slide. So without extraordinary circumstances, so if we don't get a 2/3 vote of the governing body, we would have to adopt the 4-year phasing schedules that are in the study, and we would need to adopt the stormwater fees and the sewer fees. You could adopt them at 100%, or you could adopt them at less. So you'd have those options without extraordinary circumstances. So with extraordinary circumstances, you could adopt the parks, general government, and water at 100%, or you could adopt one or more fees at less than 100%. You could also adopt one or more of the fees at 100% initially and increase the percentage over several years. In other words, you could have your own phasing option if you didn't want to adopt them all at once, or you didn't want to adopt them at 100%. So that really concludes the presentation.
Okay. Before we have any questions up here or discussion, public hearing is open.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Madam Vice Mayor. My name is Truly Burton. I represent the Builders Association of South Florida. We are an 80-year-old trade association representing builders, developers, zoning attorneys, etc. And I'm excited to be here this evening. BASF members and I have attended the workshops on the proposed fee increases, and we've heard Mr. Mullins' presentation for the fee increase as well as for the mobility change. That's when we heard that the city had not considered any review of their existing impact fee for 14 years. That's a very long time, especially with a city that's grown at this rate. Now the proposed ordinances, especially on new multifamily housing, would increase an average of a spectacular 217%. Okay? If Miami-Dade is ground zero for housing affordability crisis, I don't understand why these impact fees are going up like this. The only extraordinary circumstance I can think of is that it seems to be that the city hadn't updated its impact fees over the past 14 years. That's not an extraordinary circumstance. That's just management not thinking right somehow. And general government fee on I'm concerned about state statute and proposed construction, on this. General government benefits all residents, and that's why I included as an attachment to my letter that I sent you all today that the City of North Miami taxable property values have gone straight up in 4 years, from $3.3 odd billion to $5.26 billion. That's taxes are for the construction of a new city hall. Do you need one? Looks like it. Seems to me like you would. New improvements to Ms. Love's community planning and building and zoning department, however you call it properly. My time is up. Okay. Well, we oppose the impact fee increase at this time. The mobility fee, we'd have to take another look at that, but it's smarter to shift to a mobility fee. And it'd be nice to know that I had 2 minutes so this way I could tailor my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Eileen B. Kappa, 13350 Northeast 3rd Court. As a resident that has been negatively impacted by a lot of the development, we need more fees in order to be able to pay for the infrastructure. 3rd Court is still flooding from the development that has been done around us. Only 10 days ago, I filmed water coming out of the Citadel. 7 years later, and we still have no drainage on our street. And the drainage is an entire year behind schedule. So I think these developers need to pay for their fees. and the impact they're having on us. We have been paying for 7 years on Third Court, and I see the same thing happening across the whole city. June, when all that flooding in June is from inadequate drainage, not just in one area, but throughout the city. I do have one question that I didn't understand. It has here the single family. It has the impact fees for single family was higher than the multifamily. I noticed that on the slide, and I wanted to know if that is per unit, and that's the reason why the impact fee for the multifamily was lower. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is still open.
Good evening, Manuel Martinez, 150 Southeast 2nd Avenue, Suite 800. I represent Integra Investments. We are excited that we have a project that we are trying to get off the ground with the construction on Northwest 17th Avenue in District 4, the very deserving district for new construction. Our development is a workforce housing development. Our construction costs are as expensive as any other part of the city, but the rents are actually tailored to workforce housing, which is a much needed in the county as well as in the city. And we have allocated affordable units, and we're hopeful to be able to close on our construction financing soon. But we have a significant gap in our financing. We're hoping to get CRA funding, but this increase.
Is your comment on this
yes,
item?
I'm about to.
Just want to make sure.
I'm about to comment on this item. This increase in impact fee, we have calculated that it will increase our gap for by $2 million. So that will obviously make it a little bit more challenging for us to even get off the ground, given the gap that we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open, and public hearing is closed. Okay, any questions on the dais?
I had a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Just so from my understanding, as I'm reading the presentation, for instance, the Parks and Recreation fee, like that fee, how does that assist Parks and Rec? Just so that for residents and from my understanding.
Mr. Mullen, could you hear that question, sir?
Yeah, so I'm not sure I understood it.
So the Parks and Rec fee, like exactly what does that cover for Parks and Rec? Is it Parks and Rec collecting that fee? Is it going to the Parks and Rec budget?
It covers park improvements, including, buildings, community centers, that kind of thing, as well as the library.
And so was that always there? Is that something that's newly added?
It's always there.
It was always there. And what percentage did that one go up?
45% for, I believe it's multifamily.
So it's only multifamily, single family. It's not being covered in retail, commercial, like they don't pay it, or is that just?
No, they don't.
Okay. And that's always been the case, or we just didn't include it? Okay.
That's always been the case.
Is there any discounts provided for anyone who does maybe affordable housing? I know that's something that we'll probably review with the Affordable Housing Board, but do we make any,
We do. There's a waiver process for 100% affordable housing. That waiver means that the first owner, the fee is waived for them, the impact fee is waived for them. However, if it does change ownership, the new ownership has to pay that impact fee. So it's waived for the development team and the first owner of the property.
Only if the project is 100% affordable?
As it currently is written, as 100% affordable.
Okay. And then, so are you asking us to approve the phases, or how you guys, or is that what you're asking us up here? Because I know that there's ways to go about this.
There is. Mr. Mullen, would you like to clarify that, sir?
Well, we need a 2/3 vote of the governing body to raise the fees without phasing. And that only applies to parks, libraries, general government, police, and water. The other fees are either going down or they're new. So sewer's new, stormwater's new, or sewer's going down, stormwater's new, so that phasing doesn't apply to those.
And it pays for the cost, the current construction cost for capital projects that are moving forward. Nothing that has to do in the past. It has to do with what does it cost today to build these infrastructure needs and replace buildings or build new. So that's the reason that we're asking you to consider the extraordinary circumstances of this, of not fully phasing it in, but rather approve it at 100%, or as Mr. Mullen gave you those previous options to consider, either with or without.
And then my last question, I know other cities, what they do is if there's, like, let's say, or for instance, a development in District 2, and there's impact fees that come from that development, is there a way to make sure that those funds are earmarked for improvements around that project, and that the impact fees are not just being used for, other needs? Because if you're building a building, I'm assuming, well, half the time that happens, right? You're building a building and now there's flooding issues. So maybe there's additional drainage that's needed in that area to assist with the flooding. So is there a way to ensure that those funds are earmarked for that area?
Mr. Mullen?
Well, that would be discretionary on the part of the city. The fees are calculated citywide, and we don't have different service areas for different parts of the city. I mean, that's, there's park facilities that serve the entire city, so it really needs to be that way. There's general government facilities are centralized. They serve all parts of the city. Water and sewer are not. Well, I mean, they have a lot of, the treatment plant is definitely centralized, and we're really only including major lines, not lines within individual, down every local residential street.
Okay, that's it for me.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Mullen, you said that you need 2/3 approval of the council to pass some of these increases. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
There's only 4 of us here tonight. I mean, does that mean you just need a majority vote?
I don't know how it works with first and second reading.
Mr. Mullen, the city attorney will respond on that.
You would need all 4 of the members present to meet that supermajority.
Is that coming before us tonight? Is that one of the votes we need to take tonight, or?
I think, well,
because it got more layered.
Right, because according to the statute, the supermajority is required if you're not doing it in the phases. If you're doing the entire thing at once, then you need a supermajority. If you're not doing it at once, then you can just do it.
And are we just being asked to do it?
That I'm not sure, because it's not really clear in the ordinance.
You're actually either going to tell us that you agree with the extraordinary circumstances, that we do want to move forward with, not in some case 14 years later to get to that actual amount,
No, it's clearly
or not, or not. Right. Because the numbers are the numbers. It's how you wish to whether or not you wish to try to phase them in as statutory that allows or requires, or if the extraordinary circumstances that Mr. Mullen has outlined is compelling enough to agree to move them forward in full. However, there is a nuance to that. Mr. Mullen, I'm going to back up to that presentation, to that slide that showed the options with and without. One moment, please, sir.
And did we also do like studies to make sure that we were, I guess, providing similar fees to other cities as well?
Those were, Mr. Mullen can look at that. our numbers are our numbers based upon, it's not guesswork, it's not compared to what other cities do. It's what does it cost based upon the projects that we need to maintain the level of service standards for the city based upon population and projected growth.
Okay. I guess that's why I didn't call the email.
And Madam Vice Mayor, I did have one other question I want to ask too before we.
Sure.
Let me find that slide for you, Mr. Mullen. Okay. Oh. Went too fast, my apologies. There you go. Mr. Mullen, I have the slide up, the implementation options. Our council is asking, what are we asking for tonight? So would you go again, even if the extraordinary circumstances were approved? What are the implementation options under that versus without the extraordinary circumstances, and what the implementation options are in that scenario?
Before you go with that, it's clear that we all need to have a conversation. So I am actually going to suggest that we table this item to the next meeting so we can, I want to be briefed by you on this item. Sure.
I think, yeah, if you, maybe before we go in that direction, and would basically second it, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and we cannot be so hasty in the decision that we're going to make with the city, and we have to sit down and make sure that we know exactly what we're doing and how we move. And also, if you look at it, we have some outdated information into that presentation. For example, money to pay the Scott Galvin Center, that is out of the map, and we see $120 million for the water plant. Make no sense, because up to now we do not know how much it's going to cost to rehabilitate the water plant. See $200 million for a new city hall and police station. We don't have that information. You understand? So we need to go back and look into it. And then any of these fees, will they be passed on to our residents and all those things? So many questions. So I do believe heading that way, I am not ready to move on with this item tonight. And I'll definitely second that we table this item, and so that we have ample time to look into it, because we have to really, really dive into it so that we understand what we're doing and how we're going to move. So this is not a simple matter that we can just go ahead and move on and give you guys a green light to go on with this stuff.
So will we do both, the mobility one too?
Right. So I motion that we I motion that we table it to our November meeting. Yeah, is that?
And I'll second that.
Because so that it gives us a good opportunity, because especially with the requirement of a supermajority, if we do decide to phase it, I want to make sure, and then I want to have an opportunity to speak to the opposing side to see what's happening. So.
Madam Vice Mayor,
Sure.
may I ask my other question
Sure.
before we go? Because I won't be here when you discuss this again. Ms. Bakaba mentioned
You don't know
no, I know. I know. I'll read my crystal ball right here. I know. Ms. Bakaba mentioned single-family versus multifamily rates, and if I understood her question correctly, were the multifamily rates that are shown lesser than the single-family because of volume? I think that was because when you're doing a multifamily project, you've got so many more units than a single family. Are the rates for multifamily shown as lower because of a greater volume of those?
Mr. Mullen, did you hear the question, sir?
Yeah. Councilmember Galvin, it's the rates are based on impact. I mean, there are fewer persons per unit in a multifamily dwelling, basically. So, I mean, that basically determines the difference between a single family and a multifamily unit.
So Ms. Bacaba, I hope I got the gist of your question stated correctly. I mean, we're not allowed to reopen it, so let's say this. Because that was my last bite at this apple. That'll have to be something y'all have to work out without me. But I think she was saying that she noticed that the rate for multifamily was lower than single family. And why was that? That I think was what she was at. Why was that rate lower?
If it was per unit, like.
It is per dwelling unit.
Okay. So Ms. Love can help you answer the question.
We have a motion and a second.
And that is to the November
Something.
12th meeting?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be?
So here's the thing though, if you have winners on November 5th, you're probably going to have nothing but pomp and circumstance on November 12th. So that means you're punting stuff until either November 12th or November 26th.
And the challenge we have statutorily is it has to be adopted within 1 year of beginning the work on the study.
What was that year?
So that was January. And the date is actually before you meet in January, the deadline.
Yeah, but you've got time. November, it's not that the council's not meeting in November, so to speak.
So it would have to go to both November meetings because it would be first reading and second reading. So that means you would have to have first reading on November 12th, second reading on November 26th in order to meet the statutory guidelines because there is not a December meeting.
Or no, there'd be a first December meeting.
Yeah, there's the induction, I think.
The induction will be on December 10th, so there is no December.
Because you're theoretically looking, here's the thing, you're theoretically then looking at two inductions. If there's a straight up winner on November the 5th.
Okay, so.
No. The inductions are being planned for, one induction is being planned for December 10th, so not two. So we are going to have a November 12th and November 26th meeting, provided there is quorum. There is no December meeting.
So, okay, here's another question for you then. Now we're getting off target, but it's pertinent to me. If somebody wins November the 5th, if there's a new District 1 council person elected on November the 5th, do they have to wait until December the 10th to take office?
They get sworn in, but the induction, the ceremony of the induction is happening on December 10th.
Right.
So they will be inducted.
Kind of like what they did for me.
Correct.
You waited.
But
So we could
is
always call a special meeting, right?
You could. I just don't
provided that there is quorum. So the thing is, I mean, so I understand, as I've been advised, there has been routinely a meeting the week of Thanksgiving that has happened in the past. So we are continuing that trend to do a November 26th meeting this year.
Okay.
November 12th and November 26th, in order for the January cutoff, would be the only available dates for a first and second reading of the ordinance.
What is that deadline in January that you're saying?
I believe it's January 9th.
And we are on recess at that point.
So you need.
But I would like to clarify something. This is Clancy Mullen. That deadline is for adopting the study. That can be done. It doesn't have to be done with the ordinance. It could be done with a separate resolution that you could adopt by a simple majority vote. The study needs to be adopted within a year, not the ordinance or the change of the fees. That can come later.
So is that what's before us, the study? Like, can we do one and not the other?
You can. We've been trying to avoid that because they go hand in hand. But you certainly can, because the numbers are the numbers. It's the implementation of that fee that's proposed based upon the study. So we can just adopt the study, or we can adopt both at the same time.
I think we should adopt both at the same time if you're saying that they go hand in hand. I think we're overthinking this. I think we just need to, if there's already a motion to table it, and there's a second, let's call the vote, and we understand the pertinence of that.
And just be sensitive to whoever might win the District 1 election on November 5th. They're going to need a little extra hand-holding on this, because it's tough to walk in on your very first meeting and vote on something like this.
I will.
Right.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Estimate Irvin to table the item at tab T to the next regular council meeting in November. The motion was seconded by Councilman Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries with a 4-0 vote.
Okay.
Tab S, a proposed first reading ordinance of the City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 29 entitled Land Development Regulations, specifically at Article 3 entitled Development Review, establishing a new Division 15 entitled Mobility Fees, providing for the adoption of the City of North Miami 2045 Mobility Action Plan and Mobility Fee Technical Report, providing for the adoption of the Mobility Fee Schedule, providing for authority, general provisions, definitions, findings, declarations, purpose, and requirements for review, and updates to the Mobility Action Plan and Mobility Fee Schedule, and providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date, tab S.
So is this a companion?
Yeah, it needs to be taken.
No.
No, okay, perfect.
This is as you read before, we are sunsetting the transportation fee.
Okay.
And that would be part of that.
Okay.
So this is a mobility fee that is a more flexible funding source that is governed by, laid out in Florida statute. You all, back in January again, you approved the contract with New Urban Concepts, and Jonathan Paul, who is the principal, is here with a presentation to share with you about the findings and his recommendations. Mr. Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm Jonathan Paul, principal of New Urban Concepts, here to present to you this evening the city's 2045 Mobility Action Plan and Mobility Fee for your consideration. The mobility plan's a vision over the next 20 plus years for how the city wants to move its people, its businesses, its visitors, its students, whether they elect to walk, bicycle, ride transit, or drive their vehicle. It does emphasize and is built on the premise of getting people to and from future rail service along the FEC Railway and the two proposed stations at 125th and 151st. And it's also, which is somewhat different from impact fees, there are a number of projects that are identified in the mobility plan itself, and the fee is actually based on those projects. So if there's some question about whether you do or don't want to look at the fee, there's an opportunity to revisit some of those projects, which may impact the outcome of the fee itself. So what is a mobility fee? It's an alternative to transportation concurrency, where the primary emphasis is focusing on road capacity and how many cars can a road carry. The mobility fee really looks at how do you move people in different modes of transportation. It's not focused on just providing road capacity. It's a one-time fee. It's not assessed on existing residents or existing development. It's only for new development. And it essentially provides the city with a revenue source to fund the mobility projects identified in the plan itself. So there are a number of steps that are actually involved in the mobility plan and fee. One is amending your comprehensive plan, which the city's already done to move towards a more multimodal transportation system. The other component is the plan itself, the technical report for the fee, and the ordinance. And those three items are ones that we're addressing this evening. And then there's a number of factors that actually go into implementing the plan once it is adopted, should you elect to do so. The city would not be the first within Florida to do this. There have been a number of communities throughout the state that have elected to move beyond transportation concurrency, beyond road impact fees. The only one specifically within Miami-Dade County to do so is the city of Miami Beach. Ms. Love and I both actually worked on that plan a number of years ago and adopted that fee for the city. And it's been in place for a number of years now, and it's been very effective for them. Similar to the city of North Miami, Miami Beach doesn't have a lot of new roads planned, but it does have a lot of need for sidewalks, for stormwater, improvements as part of road projects for transit and for other modes of transportation. The first one was actually adopted in Alachua County way back in 2010, and I was fortunate enough to actually be the author of that, working in conjunction with the state of Florida, and since that time a number of other communities have followed suit. So essentially the mobility fee really does provide the city with a funding source to fund multimodal transportation. Roadway impact fees, proportionate share contributions, those largely are geared towards adding road capacity. And what you'll see in the mobility plan we proposed, there are a few connections that we think should be evaluated further in terms of some missing gaps in the residential neighborhood or some opportunities as infill development comes along US 1 to make some connectivity improvements, but there are no road widenings or no intersection improvements. That's really not the emphasis of this plan. And quite honestly, there's not a whole lot of room to add additional road capacity without having a negative impact to both your businesses and your residents. So what types of projects can you fund? You can fund sidewalks, bicycle lanes, traffic calming, parking management, mobility hubs, access to the future rail station. Essentially, whatever you provide in your mobility plan and you can demonstrate that there's a connection between new growth and the mobility it provides, and also provide a capacity for those, it allows for the city to have flexibility in terms of funding. Whereas a road impact fee or proportionate share, again, is funding road capacity. New turn lanes, widen roadways, those type of things. They don't fund sidewalks, they don't fund bike lanes, they don't fund landscaping as part of those projects. There's actually an executive summary that's been prepared. We have a separate technical document that's over 200 pages in length and gets into a lot of the legal requirements that go into any type of mobility fee. The executive summary is more a higher level look at the plan projects itself, and then it discusses a little bit more what is a mobility plan, what is a mobility fee. This is available on the website. Many residents and even elected officials have found this useful to help break down a very complex subject into something that's a little bit more manageable, and you don't have to have 20 years experience as a planner or engineer to, quote, figure out what this fee is or how it's calculated or how it's spent. One of the biggest components, and this is actually building on the city's transit-oriented development plan that it's already adopted several years ago, there was a category called pedestrian priority streets, but it only looked at a quarter of a mile around the rail station at 125th. It didn't look citywide. And so what it's generally saying is, as new development comes in, as redevelopment comes in, or as you improve a roadway, if there's an opportunity to widen your sidewalks and to add streetscape and to add landscape, that should be the priority along that street, because you can't necessarily put bicycles on the roadway, you can't widen the roadway, and there's only so much you can do in terms of other modes of transportation, but you can actually improve the sidewalks. And what this plan is envisioned to do is to work in conjunction with development. So right now, as new development comes in along some of your major corridors, your county roads, your state roads, some of your major city roads, they have a requirement to provide a wider sidewalk along their property. That's considered a site-related requirement. What this mobility plan does is it identifies the entire corridor. So what many communities have found is by once development comes in, the best opportunity, assuming there's right-of-way available, is to have that development make an improvement along its entire frontage and say there's a parcel between it and an intersecting roadway, an opportunity to further those improvements to that intersecting roadway, and then using the mobility fee they would have paid as a credit to the developer. So what this essentially does is it gets infrastructure put in up front. It allows the developer to both improve their front entrance, but also provide connectivity along the corridor as well, and it makes improvements far quicker than the city could ever hope to. And that's something that, you know, in the 100 plus ones of these that I've done, one of the biggest benefits of a mobility plan, mobility fee integrated with development, working with your development partners, is the opportunity to advance these projects. And so that's something that's really a little bit different than your fee study, which is kind of looking at in general capacity. This kind of gets more focused into where's development occurring and how can you work with them. And the mobility fee, they could in essence pay it to the city, and the city could use it to fund other projects, or they could also elect to make enhancements along their frontage consistent with this plan. And so what that helps you is not have a beautiful sidewalk mid-block, and then you go down to a 5-foot sidewalk or a 4-foot sidewalk on the back of curb on a vacant parcel of land. It's an opportunity to do something unique, and it's also an opportunity to have some funding if the state or if the county comes in and does a project and you'd want to say have decorative crosswalks or wider sidewalks or enhanced landscaping on the corridor, you'd have some money to bring to the table to compel those other governments to do something different than just their standard. The other opportunity, and more so within the core part of your downtown, you have a number of streets that have a lot of additional excess right-of-way. That right-of-way tends to be paved from the curb to the curb, and there's not a lot of opportunities for stormwater improvements. What curbless shared streets are is they're basically saying, what can we redo and how can we reuse this right-of-way and asphalt that we already have to, one, make the street more attractive, 2, to introduce on-street parking, 3, to add enhanced landscaping, and 4, to upgrade your utilities or also integrate stormwater treatment. And the best example of this, if you've had an opportunity, and it was identified in 2016 in their mobility plan, is in downtown West Palm Beach. Clematis Street and Rosemary are both examples of curbless shared streets. And they've been done in conjunction with development. It was painful while they were being done, but now that they've been done, they've been extremely successful. And these streets are also designed to be, quote, if you've ever heard the term Festival Street, it's an opportunity that they actually have bollards installed as part of the streets, and you raise them up to shut traffic off. So when you have events, when you have farmers markets, you have activities, your street's essentially designed for people. And then once you're done, you put the bollards back down and then it opens back up the traffic. So there are a number of opportunities to do some creative things within your right-of-way without the need to go out and acquire additional land, but to reuse what you already have. And then there are a few opportunities. I think there's 2 within the residential portions of the city in the northwest corner. And then there's a couple of opportunities either as part of the Solomia development or along the 123rd and US 1 that if redevelopment occurs or if there's coordination with new development and up by the Solomia area, also with the city of North Miami Beach, if there's an opportunity to make some additional connectivity in terms of extending roadways, connecting roadways, providing a little bit more of the grid back into your system, those are some of the corridors that have been identified and are worthy of at least evaluating. Can we make connections again as part of this process? And should you do so, and should a development actually do that, then you would also be able to enter into an agreement with them to say you could use a portion of your mobility fees to help advance this because it benefits the city's overall system. And then this is in essence the street plan itself, which is focused on improving the sidewalks, the curbless shared streets, and the possibility for additional connectivity within the city. There's also what we've identified as multimodal corridors. Your prior plans had identified protected bicycle lanes or buffered bicycle lanes along many state roads and county roads. Well, quite a few of your state roads have just been resurfaced, and what DOT found is we don't have the room to put in a protected bicycle lane. We don't have the room to put in a on-street bicycle lane, so we'll put a Sharrow marking, and quite honestly, I don't recommend Sharrows on any high-volume roadway because I don't think it's realistic for somebody to ride a bicycle.
Now you tell us.
Well, I haven't been promoting that for 20 plus years, and I bicycle a lot, and I'm one of the crazy ones that actually would bicycle on a US 1. But the average person isn't going to ride a bike down 123rd or 125th. I'm sorry, there's just too much traffic there. But what you do have as a city is an amazing grid. And you've got a number of parallel roadways where you could actually accommodate people riding bicycles if you have a little bit of a plan for connectivity. And that's essentially what the multimodal corridors do, is they identify some of these principal routes that could serve as alternatives to your state road system, where you could add bicycle lanes, you could add a pathway, you could do something creative along those corridors. There's also a few opportunities along the railroad and along some of your conservation areas along the railroad to add trails or boardwalks or some additional connectivity to help take people to and from the future rail station to places where you actually have existing sidewalks or shared use pathways. And there's also an opportunity to make some potential improvements to the Arch Creek Trail and the trail going over to FIU in coordination with both the county and FIU. And this essentially identifies the multimodal plan. When we looked at your plans, you essentially had projects that are identified a half mile, a quarter of a mile around the rail station. Then there wasn't anything identified anywhere else in the entirety of the city. So we've essentially gone out there and said, what would work elsewhere in the city? How could we extend some of these ideas beyond just the rail station, and how could we implement them to the benefit of the entire community, not just one specific portion of the city? So a lot of these concepts, they're not necessarily new, but they were very concentrated, and necessarily some of them weren't implementable right in a very specific spot of your city, and then they weren't applicable anywhere else. So we've extended these ideas elsewhere into the city. Miami-Dade County is looking at this right now as the idea of a water taxi. The city of North Miami had one. I'd say some of the locations weren't ideal where they had the stops, and they've put a stop to it. And I'm not proposing this to happen today, but if and when the rail comes in, there would be an opportunity to partner with the county, to partner with Surfside, to partner with Ball Harbor, to partner with FIU, to potentially get some of the developments or some of the other municipalities and destinations east of the city to potentially use a water taxi to get you to the future rail station, as opposed to driving along 163rd and 151st, as opposed to driving along 123rd. If you did it today, it's going to fail. I'm just going to be honest with you. It wouldn't function. But when there's the opportunity to have rail, and that rail's running every 30 minutes, there is a real opportunity to do something creative and use the waterways that you already have today. And technically, you could actually get them almost, depending on the vessel you use or the boat, you can get them almost, through Arch Creek, and you can get them pretty close to the rail station at the point where you're either walking, quarter of a mile or less, or you have a golf cart or some type of circulator take you from the rail station to the water taxi. So it's really just an idea of how do you think differently about getting people around, not just within the city, but all that traffic coming into the city or through the city. And you are going to be a destination once that rail stop, those two rail stops are there. People are going to come into your city even more than they do today, and they're going to access those stations, and they're going to go down to Miami, they're going to go up to Aventura, they're going to go elsewhere in the community. So how do you potentially mitigate some of that traffic that's going to come from that? And we've also looked at, connectivity to the Solomia, connectivity to between the two rail stations, and identified in the plan itself when these come, you probably need to look at some of your routes again to figure out what is the optimal corridors to serve your residents, to serve your downtown, and connect it to the rail station. One of the things that a lot of communities struggle with is money. And you had a discussion earlier, you've had discussions numerous times. How do you get the biggest bang for your buck? And one thing that we've implemented in a number of communities is either low-speed streets or green streets. And this is using the asphalt you already have out there today on your roadways through pavement markings. How do you reduce travel lane widths, slow down cars, and then make space available for either on-street parking or for bicycle lanes? And if you have on-street parking, do you establish a residential permit program, or do you meter those parking spaces? And if you do meter them, you use some of those funds to actually revitalize your swale system, to add landscaping, to add other features. So this idea of a pilot project in and around the core part of the downtown, you have really wide residential streets. You have a lot of right-of-way. Portions of it are supposed to convey stormwater, but over the years they've been compacted. People are driving on them. But there are opportunities to go out there and revisit them. There are opportunities to look at some of your neighbors or get some residents that have issues with speeding, have issues with wanting to have more landscaping, and say, will you let us do something creative on your roadway? Narrow it to put on parking on the street itself. Narrow it to provide bicycle lanes. Some communities have even gone as far as to look at one-way pairs on residential streets and add both on-street parking and bicycle lanes. So it's really just an innovative way. Some of these projects we have in here cost $2–3 million a mile. Depending if you have your own striping equipment, you could do it as low cost as $10,000 a mile. If you have to go out and hire a contractor, maybe $50,000 a mile. But it's a really cost-effective way to use what you already have and to try to do something innovative with that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to jump in, Madam Vice Mayor. We have a lengthy agenda tonight.
I
didn't know if
the last component of it is traffic calming. You have a traffic calming study. We've integrated that into the overall mobility plan itself. So should you adopt the mobility fee, a portion of those fees could be used for traffic calming as well. And with that, that's the plan part of it. The other component of this is the actual fee itself, the discussion you had earlier on the impact fees. We have a detailed document, 200 pages in length, goes into all the legal requirements, all the formulas, and all the calculations to produce a mobility fee. But it's essentially based on the projects in the plan, the share of those projects that go towards new growth, and the cost of those projects. And so we've looked at the study area. These would be only assessed within the city itself or within any areas that annex into the city into the future. You'd have the flexibility to spend these funds anywhere within the city and also in some of the gaps or the enclaves within the city itself, because transportation just doesn't stop at your boundary. And sometimes there is a legitimate need to spend it beyond the city or work with Miami-Dade or the state to help advance a project. The mobility fee itself, the residential is a little bit different than what you saw on the other schedule. This is based on the square footage of a home or the square footage of a dwelling unit wherever you reside. Doesn't matter if it's single family, multifamily, active adult type of use. It's the same dollar amount per square foot, but a smaller unit pays less, a larger unit pays more. So if you build a studio or you build a 1-bedroom, you'd pay for the square footage of that. If you build a 3-bedroom unit, you'd pay for the additional square footage. If you build a large, you tear down an existing single-family home, it's 1,000 square feet, and you come in and you build a 4,000 square foot unit, you would essentially pay for those additional 3,000 feet. So it's a way to link the fee with the size of the home or size of a dwelling, and as it gets larger, its fee will get larger as well. This is something that I've been doing for 20 plus years now. A lot of communities have found it's simple, and also gets into a little bit more of the affordability question. As opposed to a flat fee per dwelling, it's really tied to the size of the unit itself. So in essence, a smaller unit would pay less because it's smaller versus a larger home. And we've actually done studies based on Miami, or City of North Miami specifically. As the number of bedrooms increase, so do the number of vehicles. And then there's been national studies that show the more vehicles within a household, the more traffic it generates. So larger homes tend to generate more trips. Not necessarily just by the residents, but other services, other provisions that go to them. Like your other fees, there's a fee also assessed towards community serving uses, long-term care, private education. They each pay per square foot based on their overall transportation impact. Recreational type uses that charge somebody to use it. If somebody's building a pool or clubhouse or gym as part of their development, they don't pay for that, but if they actually charge a member of the public to use it, then they would pay for it. There's rates also for industrial land uses, for office uses, for medical office does tend to be higher because it also generates a lot more trips than a standard office use.
Madam Vice Mayor, I'm so sorry. We have a lengthy agenda yet to go tonight. I didn't know how much longer you had in the presentation.
2 more slides.
Okay.
So we have rates for retail as well, for fast food drive-throughs. Bigger types of uses generate more trips. So really there's a correlation between the traffic generated and the fee itself. And then there's some other slides I can get into at another time related to how you could reimagine your transportation system through policies. But this is something that it's really a first step. It's documented, it's detailed, it's in the plan. The calculated fee is the highest it can be. You can't go higher than that. If you elect to go lower than that or phase it in, that's certainly your purview as an elected board. But the fee represents the highest calculation that it could be from a technical perspective. And then these are just some of the dates depending on what action you'd like to move forward with. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. It is now open to the public. Public hearing is open.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'll be brief. A mobility fee in lieu of roadway impact fees, that shift is a smart one. It does seem to make sense. You can then expand sidewalks and really do improvements that would help an already built-out city, which is pretty much most of the city of North Miami. So once we've had the opportunity to really evaluate the details, because you heard the gentleman's report is quite detailed, the consultant's report is quite detailed, we'll be back with you on that one, but we think that shift makes an awful lot of sense. However, impact fees in general are not a slush fund, okay? They are to mitigate the impacts of that new development. So that's really the message that I wanted to leave with you. Mobility fees seem to be, helping that because you're already built out city. So this way you can make improvements in the right places for those, based on those new developments. Thank you.
Public hearing is closed. Okay. Any questions on the dais?
Vice Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
Yeah, quickly, just want to say thank you for that lengthy presentation, and thank you also, Councilman Galvin, trying to get it short. But it just make a lot of sense with everything that's been being presented, and I do believe that it is the right directions and something that we can work. But quickly, just for the record, just want to make sure that we understand this phase will not be access to any existing building or resident in the city of North Miami. Just want to make it clear.
Yes, council member, that is correct.
And now moving on. So with all new constructions, including if you just demolish a structure that we have and then build a new one, this fee you will be impacted by those fees.
If you demolish a structure and you build it back the exact same square footage, no, you would not. If you demolish it and build it larger, you would pay the difference.
Good. Now, what about, because in the city of North Miami, you can actually get as a homeowner, you can get a permit, get your permit and add like 1 or 2 bedrooms into your existing structure. Is that gonna affect that fee will be will you be affected by this new mobility fee?
If you were to remodel the interior of your home to say add a new bedroom, no, it would not. But if you actually widened the home or expanded the home to add those bedrooms, you would pay that difference between the existing square footage and the new square footage. So you don't pay the whole thing, but you pay for the square footage you add. And it doesn't apply to porches or garages. It's only habitable space.
Okay, and thank you. No further questions.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Timothy to approve the item at tab S. The motion was seconded by Councilman Charles. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Charles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Desilmay is absent. Councilwoman Timothy, how do you vote?
Yes.
The motion carries with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you.
Tab U, a proposed second reading ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 29 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations, specifically at Article 5 entitled Development Standards, Section 5-1611, to allow ice cream trucks to operate within the city limits, subject to certain standards in accordance with Section 166.041, parentheses 3, parentheses capital C, Florida Statutes 2024, Sections 3-1004 through 3-1007, and Section 3-302 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab U.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Public hearing is open. Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
I have a motion made by Councilman Charles to approve the item at tab U. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilman Charles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Timothy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion carries with a 4-0 vote. Tab, okay, wait, no. All right, please be advised that the following items on the agenda, thank you, are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to speak in favor of, object to, or comment on an item, please complete a public speaker's card indicating the agenda item number on which you would like to comment. So that is applicable to V, W, X, and Y. So tabs V, W, X, and Y. You must be sworn before addressing the City Council, and you may be subject to cross-examination. If you refuse to submit to cross-examination, the City Council will not consider your comments in its final deliberation. Please also disclose any ex parte communications you may have had with any members of the City Council. City Council members must do the same. So once again, if you'll be speaking on tabs V, W, X, and Y, or Y, please grab a public speaker card. For each tab, you need to complete a card. They are at the entrance of the room. In the meantime, while you're working on those, I'm going to swear everyone in for tabs V, W, X, and Y. So if you plan to speak, even if you haven't completed the public speaker's card yet, just please stand and raise your right hand. So once again, if you're speaking on tabs V, W, X, and Y, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in today's proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If so, say aloud, I do. Thank you. So once again, I have 2 public speaker cards, and everybody stood up. So the math is not mathing. And so I need more public speaker cards. All right. Tab V. A proposed quasi-judicial resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, approving an application for a conditional use permit in substantially the attached form for a proposed mixed-use 24-story 76-unit apartment unit with 139 hotel rooms, 3,700 square feet of retail space, and integrated parking garage with 273 parking spaces on parcel of real property located at 1401 Northeast 123rd Street, identified with Miami-Dade County Folio number 06-2229-047-0020 and totaling approximately .51 acres in accordance with Article 3, Division 4, Sections 3-402 through 3-407, Article 4, Division 3, Section 4-310 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and all other purposes, tab V. All right, thank you.
Again, for the record, through the city manager, Debbie Love, the Director of Development Services. And before you is a conditional use permit request for a project located at 1401 Northeast 123rd Street. And after my presentation, the applicant's representative is here. They have a brief presentation for you as well and are here to answer any questions. As I said, this is a request for a conditional use permit to allocate 63 of our floating bonus units toward this development, along with 3,700 square feet of commercial floor area out of our non-residential bonus pool. And to the location is, as I said, shown up here on the screen. It's 1401. It's a little over a half acre in size. Currently, I know you know where this is. It is currently a auto repair shop. It's zoned R6, which is high density residential on our land use map. And it is also located within the North Miami Transit Station Overlay District. That district actually allows, as you know, 200 feet in height and up to 150 dwelling units per acre. And in June, the Planning Commission recommended approval with a 5-to-1 vote. The as-of-right number that could be built without the benefit of the overlay district is 13 units. So this 76-unit, 233-foot-tall residential mixed-use building is proposed. They could, under the conditional use permit, based upon the parcel size, develop 90 dwelling units with the CUP. This is, and I'll talk to you about this in a moment, it is over the 200-foot height limit. They are going to be requesting a variance with the Board of Adjustment to accommodate the additional 54 parking spaces that were requested by the city in coordination and with the county for the rail station parking. It does include a 139-room hotel, which again, that would be also part of the Board of Adjustment consideration. It's about 3,700 square feet of retail space. It's proposed. Very large passive open space area on the west and the south sides of the project. It'll, of course, be certified green build, and then it will have enhanced stormwater requirements. So that looking at the economic impact, it's a little over 900 short-term direct and indirect jobs during the typical 2-year or estimated 2-year construction period, with about $35 million in wages that will be hopefully spent by people here, received by people locally. They estimate $510,000 annually for ad valorem taxes with a partial capture by the CRA, and approximately a one-time payment of $560,000. That's at the old rate, and if we look at the new rates, that would be a different number. So I just want to emphasize as we're moving forward when I give you these numbers.
What is the different number?
The proposed impact fee numbers, I didn't do that calculation, sir, but it would be based upon the new impact fee by the time they get into the building department. Oh. It does require DRC review. They will have to do as Jonathan mentioned, a 10-foot wide sidewalk along our major corridors. We already request that as a standard. All the utilities have to be placed underground, LEED certified, and again, your approval this evening would be subject to them obtaining the height variance from the BOA, along with the special exception for the hotel. The next steps, if you approve this evening, is they would submit for development review, and then that would ultimately come back to you for final approval, for final site plan approval. That is the end of my presentation. As I mentioned, the applicant is here, and they're here for any questions, and they do have a brief presentation, and I'll pull that up for them.
Thank you, Debbie. Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Mickey Marrero with the law firm Burkhardt, Riddell, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapinas, here today on behalf of the applicant with this project. Joining me up there is Manny Del Monte from Ziskovich Architects. We also have in the audience members of our ownership team, our traffic engineers, and my associate, Michael Yiannopoulos. I'm going to try and be very brief. I know it's pretty late already and you've got a lot of items ahead of you, but I wanted to get a few items covered. This project really is a response to the adoption of the city's transit overlay district. The city and the county have been working hard over the years to bring rail to the city and throughout the metropolitan area of Miami-Dade County. As mentioned in some of the reports before you, a lot of the progressive growth and smart development and vision for the general area, not just North Miami, but the county and the South Florida area relies on the rail coming. And this project is what was adopted by the city in response to the county's really need for this to work county-wide. So with the overlay, the intention is that where the train stations will be, you want intense development so that the stations get used, and it encourages people to ride the rail and not use cars, and hopefully bring metropolitan Miami into a place like other metropolitan areas. I do have a couple of corrections on the report. It does say 24 stories. It is 20 stories. The height is 20 stories. And we believe, although there are some architectural features in a rooftop garden that goes towards the sustainability, the actual height by measurement, I believe, Debbie, is 214, but we can talk about that site plan just because there are some additional architectural features and a rooftop garden on the roof responding to the sustainability requirements of the city, but I don't believe that increases the height. As mentioned by Debbie, the reason that we will be asking for a height variance, if you all approve this today, is because in our this project was designed by Manny and his team at the height limit, but in initial meetings we had with the city and with several meetings with the Transportation Department of Miami-Dade County, it was a request made to us if we could provide a significant amount of parking for the station. There is another project that was approved a little bit north of us that's providing some spaces, but the county felt strongly that for the station and the rail to be successful here, it needed more parking, and we agreed, and our client agreed to take on the expense of providing those spaces. But it made they were taking on the expense, but they didn't want to reduce their intensity and triple down on the cost. So we're asking for that as a response to the city and county's request for these spaces. As Debbie mentioned, this is a significant boost economically for the city. Over 900 at least part-time jobs, some full-time, over $500,000 in permanent impact fees at a minimum. And as Debbie mentioned, if your new fees are adopted, that number will increase, and over $500,000 annually in ad valorem fees. So the project is really, I think, a direct response to the transit overlay and really hopes to make the rail and this growth successful. With that, I'll reserve some time for questions and rebuttal. And if, Manny, if you could go over briefly the architectural presentation, and we'll leave it for questions after that.
Good evening, Council. I'm Manny Del Monte with Ziskovich Architects. So I'll just take a brief moment to walk you through the project so you get an understanding of all the components. As a architecture and planning firm, when we design a project, we're looking at it from a pedestrian's eye. So we start from ground up. How do we take advantage of not only our site, but how do we take advantage of the resources in the neighborhood and how the neighborhood's going to grow? The main thing being the transit station. So we are directly in front of the proposed transit station. So to that, we wanted to make sure that our building is reacting to that, is making sure that the pedestrian is going to have easy visibility to the site, and there's resources that we're providing that are going to be an advantage for the station. So our ground floor has commercial on the corner and wrapping around to the west side of the building, facing directly towards the station. So that way the visibility for the pedestrian is very accessible. They'll be able to use that retail before or after they get on the train. We also wanted to make sure that we're providing the ability for those that are coming in on bicycles, other types of things that they could store. So we're actually creating a bike storage on our ground floor, high visibility right off the street. So that way either residents in the building or people using the transit station can come, park their bicycle safely, and then hop on the train. From there, we move up the building. Our second level and partially our third level is going to be dedicated parking for the transit station. So that'll be on the lower floors, and then the third floor and above up to the seventh will be parking both for the residents and for the hotel guests. Above that, we're going to have an amenity deck that's going to service both the hotel and the residential, with a deck towards the north side of the building. And then above that, we're going to have 5 floors of hotel and then 6 floors of residential with a roof deck. The roof deck is going to serve most likely both the residents and the hotel, so that way we're giving vantage points higher up and a different ability for residents to take advantage of the site. The building is being designed with transportation and movement in mind. So there's an effort to make the building feel like there's movement to it. Balconies are moving. Our ground floor elements are very tailored to the pedestrian level, so there's a lot more detail on the ground level that are activating the street, activating the commercial. And you can see some imagery here on our elevations, and then some imagery here on our renderings. You can see the way that the facade is articulating and really drawing attention to the corner and towards the transit on adjacent to the site. And here's some shots from the ground level. Again, canopy features, things that are going to be providing shade for both guests and tenant storage coming in. And with that, I'll turn it over for any questions. Yeah.
So yeah, just to conclude, a couple of quick things. If you read the staff report, your staff recommends in favor of this request and confirms that the criteria for the CUP are met by this application. Additionally, the Planning Commission reviewed this and discussed it at length. They recommended in favor of this application. We also held a community meeting on August 21st, which was attended by just under 100 folks, and their support was generally positive. There were some objectors, like, with everything, but we felt we had a pretty robust discussion, and that generally the sense was that the project was a big addition. So with that, we'll conclude and be ready for any questions you have and rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is now open if you were sworn in, and I will call you by name. Eileen Bicaba and Mr. Barreto.
Good evening. Hernando Barreto, 11930 North Bayshore Drive. Actually, I was in the meeting, was the meeting that was being referred. And I didn't see many people supporting the project. However, I think it's a good project. I think will be good for transportation. But I made a comment during the meeting that the traffic impact has not been properly addressed, and the fact that the entrance to the parking is on the main street on 123rd Street is inconvenient, and the suggestion on the meeting was find a way to make the entrance around the building and not in the main street, because in the main street and then the railroad is right in front. It's already very heavy area for traffic, and I think they have ignored any recommendation that night. For that reason, unless they make some fundamental changes on traffic, I think that project shouldn't be approved as it is. The main entrance to the parking area on 123rd Street is very inconvenient, and the traffic study that they presented was just, we did a traffic study and it's going to be fine. That was their presentation. We asked about if they have considered a comprehensive traffic study considering the new developments. There is another development a few blocks from that one that is going to be even bigger. And that comprehensive traffic has not been accomplished or has not been done so far. Then that's why I have those objections to that project. Thank you. And I am opposed in the way that it is presented today.
Thank you. Ms. Guzman? And Nicole Sauvager, you can come up as well.
Veronica Guzman, 540 Northwest 127th Street. I apologize for not introducing myself when I spoke earlier. I am currently opposed with this project. I oppose for the same reasons due to the traffic. There is an elementary school. It's actually sandwiched in between two schools. And to have the traffic coming out, in and out through the main road, it's just not feasible. That area is already highly congested. I don't approve of it being higher than the building next to it. A lot of us moved from New York to not live in city. We are a transitional city. I consider us a boutique city. I feel like these height requirements are just out the window, and we just continue to build and build when we don't have the infrastructure in place. We don't have the capacity for that area of a building of this magnitude. On Biscayne Boulevard, I can see this happening, but not on this street. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nicole?
Nicole Savageau. I live on 1503 Northeast 127th Street, across the street from the other project just north of this project. The traffic is horrendous. It's always been on 125th. I do everything in my power to avoid 125th. I go through the back neighborhoods whenever I have to go in that direction because I don't like to get stuck in traffic. I live between the fire station and this project. There's 4 streets, there's no traffic light. 16th Avenue is ramping up. The traffic's getting worse. They're building all around that area. Not only that, our water system, last night at the mayor's discussion, it was built in 1962, and until that can be shown that it can support such projects, it's like they're popping up everywhere, but there's no real talk about solution with that. And if the traffic's already intense on 125, what is this project going to do to not only lower the current rate of traffic, then they're going to be, adding on to it. So and I think the size of it is I understand it's in that overlay district, but compared to other buildings in the area, this just seems like not to size-wise really fit into the neighborhood. And I know it says it says 76 units, but then 139 hotel rooms. Okay, it's a half acre, I thought I just heard someone say, and those people staying at the hotel aren't going to be riding their bicycle. There's going to be a lot more traffic. Then you got Ubers, and you have Amazon, this delivery, that delivery. It's not just the amount of spots.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Davis, Deborah Davies.
I thought you forgot about me.
I did not.
Maybe you wanted to. Okay. Deborah Davies, 1165 Northeast 127th Street. The design of this 20-story building in this location is seriously flawed from the point of view of traffic, like everybody said, and the safety of all of us. The proposal has up to 273 cars entering and exiting on Northeast 123rd, the main road through our city. The development has no access to any other street. All vehicles exiting the building would have to turn right to go west on 123rd. Any drivers who want to go east would have to find some way to make a U-turn or circle around to rejoin it. I just don't know how this is possible because there's no light there. So this would funnel a lot of cars, many trying to make turns to come back the other way into an already congested with the railroad crossing and a school zone. And how would the vehicles enter the building coming from the west once you've gone over the railroad tracks? The developer only held one community meeting without the required notification, with only local people. We only heard about it at the last minute that day, a few hours before it. At that meeting, the architect agreed with me that these traffic patterns were an adverse impact. But that hasn't been fixed because it can't be fixed. So we also need community benefits from this development as well. The developer was saying that the extra parking spaces that they're allowing for the train station is the community benefit. But that is not a community benefit for the community. That is for the train station. And once again, like everybody else is talking about, we're really concerned about the infrastructure. How can we really support this with the current water system and sewer system that is really crumbling with flooding everywhere? So once again, I don't see how this section 3-405, I don't see how it meets the requirements for this. Thank you very much. But I do want to say we do need housing, Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, did you sign a card for this item? Okay, need to give it to the clerk, please. Are there any more cards or speakers for this item?
Good evening, everyone. William Prevotel, 12,000 North Bay Shore Drive. Just wanted to share a couple observations. So we've had a lot of debates regarding development in our city and quantities and other factors and battling a lot of things out. Wanted to sort of point out that if you have 139 hotel units, hotel rooms, a hotel is really not much different from a studio apartment. Just the last few weeks, we've been to a number of hotel units where they had kitchenettes in the single space, the single hotel unit. If you were to count that as a studio apartment, in this particular project, you're talking about 215 units total. On a half-acre site, that means you have a density of 430 units per acre. Mind you that I don't think any other place in our city has that density. Biscayne, the Bayshore zone is 100 dwelling units per acre, but in this case it would be 430 units per acre. The half-acre parcel, if you square it and average it out, it's about 146 feet per side, less than 150 feet by 150 feet, which is a pretty tight footprint. And I'm not saying necessarily 100% yes or no for this project, but that's a lot. That's 10 pounds in the 5-pound bag. And if this project came with additional open space, whether it's located adjacent to the project or somewhere else in the city, I think it would be much more palatable to sustain. Because if you get a number of these projects on top of each other, you may get what a lot of these citizens kind of fear as an end result. And we may want to put the brakes on that a little bit and assure that there is green space and open space and something that could work best with our community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Go ahead, and while you come on, are there any ex parte communication that anybody wants to disclose?
Oh, Madam Vice Mayor, I would like to disclose that I think the applicant called me today, and I know we met previously, and I don't know if I attended the community meeting.
What's that?
I don't know if I attended the community meeting, but I know we discussed this project.
Anyone else?
I've not been contacted by the developer at all.
I don't remember having any meeting with you guys.
No. Okay.
I do have questions.
But we'll let him, we'll give him his time and we'll come to us.
Just a couple quick rebuttal points. As to the traffic, and I have Adrian Bukowski here from Kimley Horn to speak briefly on some of what was said about the traffic. I will tell you that the traffic doesn't even take into account the fact that we're going to have a Brightline station next to us, and this project relies on that. It's treating the project as if there is no station. So once the station comes in, even though the traffic study was a 72-page study submitted in November of 2023 and reviewed by your professional staff and deemed to meet the level of service, we believe it was taken as the most conservative approach because it doesn't take into account the station, which will have a significant impact on the number of cars there. He will expand a little bit further on the access. As to the question about the hotel units, in every code, when you consider mixed-use projects, hotel units are considered commercial non-residential development, had different impacts than residential. So this project does meet those requirements. It really isn't density of that magnitude. Hotel units just have a different impact than residential. But I'd like just briefly for Adrian to touch upon the traffic points, since that was the main thing that was discussed.
Good evening. Adrian Dubkowski with Kimley Horn, offices at 2 Alhambra Plaza in Coral Gables. So we prepared a comprehensive traffic study. We accounted for committed developments as well as future growth in the area. And we also looked at the access, and we looked at it conservatively by not increasing the multimodal rate. So we looked at what the multimodal is currently, and it was a 17.9%. We applied that to the trip generation, which during the peak hours equates to 90 trips or 1.5 trips per minute in that peak hour. We also looked at the full access, and we'll further coordinate that with FDOT because currently we have enough stacking for 7 to 8 vehicles before the railroad crossing. And we believe that we could fit in a turn lane there. Currently it's a striped out median that would allow for a turn lane, and then for exiting traffic to do what's called a 2-stage gap. So you look to the left, you pull out across the 2 lanes of traffic, you wait in the median, and then when there's a gap in traffic, you continue onward. And obviously, through that coordination, we'll determine whether that full access will be approved, or we will go back to looking at some kind of other configuration, limited access, right in, right out. Thank you.
Thank you. And what I'll do is I'll start with you, Councilwoman Timothy, since it's in your district.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. One of my questions is that I know that the city had asked you for the additional parking spaces for the Brightline station. How many parking spaces were there to be provided?
54 spaces.
Oh, 54 spaces. And is it my understanding, Ms. Love, that they could have went through the county for their approvals and bypassed the city?
Technically, yes.
Okay. And that's through, is it the Smart Transit?
That is
the county's
correct.
Rapid Smart Transit. So I just wanted to ensure that the public understood what the county did with that legislation, because there are some projects that could bypass us, completely and go before the county, but the developer chose not to. Do you know what type of hotel?
That's my question. Oh, sure. I was going to ask a question. There's a lot of different kinds of hotels.
It's meant to be, look, we're still working that concept out. The idea is it's going to be really a boutique hotel, something, we don't have a brand yet, but think Courtyard type of brand, something where folks coming in for business with the access to the station, folks visiting family down here. It's not going to be a party hotel or that type of hotel. It's going to be a very mid-range hotel. I think in our analysis, we provided some estimates, average daily rate of 180, so that type of hotel. With limited amenities, but still some amenities. Probably in the 3.5 star range. That's just, guess right now, we're way away from finalizing that. But we did hear that, especially at the Planning Commission meeting, we're excited about the residential and the whole project. We heard a lot of folks telling us that the hotel is something the city really is looking for, a quality hotel. So that kind of made that more of an exciting component for us, because we heard a lot of comments about the hotel. Really surprised us how many folks were looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And that's it for me, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Scargala.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. First question is for staff. The request this evening is for a conditional use permit plus variances.
No, sir. They have to go to the Board of Adjustment for the variances.
Okay.
It is a conditional approval based upon, for the height and for the special exception for the hotel use, You are being requested to make a conditional approval to grant them the 63 floating units so they can move forward to the Board of Adjustment to request their variances. But if they don't get their variances, they have to come back with a project that is topped out at the 200-foot, plus the regular 20% that we allow for certain appurtenances, such as elevator equipment, things like that.
I want to take a moment to address the water utility plant, the Winston Water Plant that keeps coming up, sort of just related to development projects in this area. If I understand correctly, none of the water in that area is coming actually from Winston Water Plant. It's water that we're buying from the county. Is that accurate?
That is not in my wheelhouse. That would be Public Works, but Public Works did say that there was adequate capacity both in the water as well as the sanitary sewer service to serve this project.
Right. So this might be a side conversation. I guess tonight's my last meeting. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. But if we're buying the water for this area from the county, what's happening out at Winston doesn't really matter. The fact that it opened in 1962, I get it's an inadequate plant, needs to be revamped. But if we don't bring in new development money, or we don't increase impact fees, then there's never going to be a way to fix that plant and provide better piping without some new level of revenue. Hi, Mr. Fiddler.
Good evening.
Is the water that's in that area coming from Winston, or is it?
Some of it is. We're on the loop. We do buy water from Miami-Dade Water and Sewer, but some of the water provided in the area we actually provide as well. Councilman Galvin, through the manager.
Okay. I mean, I get it that Winston's an outdated plant, needs to be fixed. I think the residents, since I have to wrap my head around leaving you tonight, you have to wrap your head around the fact that there's needing to be some level of revenue coming into this city that's going to pay for the repairs out there. Because if it's not developers and it's not development fees and it's not new, then it's going to have to be on the backs of the taxpayers. So, or a bond. And I think the residents have shown they're never going to vote for a bond. So you got to start thinking that the money can't just be squeezed out of, thin air. So thank you for that information. I'm glad that you mentioned the type of hotel that this would potentially be. There's a hotel just down the street, Best Western, that is not only the only hotel in the city that doesn't charge by the hour, as far as I'm aware, but it's wholly substandard. Please do not bring us another Best Western hotel. When you say there's going to be a boutique hotel, that's a significant increase in my mind, upgrade from a 3-star to a boutique. So if it's going to be a boutique hotel, please do your best to bring in somebody who's going to provide a quality product that we're going to want to bring our family and our friends to. And last question I have for y'all, what happens if the train station doesn't come? What happens if Miami-Dade County says, you know what, we're just going to go to 151st Street and we're going to skip on down to El Portal?
So
what then?
Frankly, in the conversations we've had, it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg, because the train station and the folks at the county want development to encourage the station to go.
Right.
And if there was not the train, frankly, this project, we're here before you because of the station. That's what drew my client to want to develop here. Sure. That's what makes this project make sense. That's why I believe you all adopted the overlay.
Right.
And if it doesn't come, maybe there's a different version of this project. Maybe there's a way to make it work. But I can tell you, in speaking to the county, they were thrilled to hear from us, because they said, this is why we want, you making this train work relies on development that's consistent with the rail.
Right.
So we believe it's coming. We're hearing that it's coming. They're asking us to make our project compatible with it. We've done so with regards to access, with regards to the types of uses on the ground floor, the bike storage, the coffee shop, things that riders will use.
Right.
And we obviously, I just want to mention that the spaces, it's not an insignificant benefit. Spaces are estimated to cost per space $20,000 to $40,000. That is a very significant benefit, and it may not benefit every single person, but the public in general will absolutely benefit from that. And we think it's a pretty significant benefit benefit. So
I'm glad to hear then that you have been speaking with the county and those folks so that there's an understanding.
Yes.
That's encouraging. I'm glad to hear that. That's the only
Thank you.
question, all the questions I had, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Charles?
Yeah, quickly looking at it and hearing everything that has been said about the project, I think, for my self and for my sake, we need to sit down and look at it over, and all the complaints, they are legitimate because we know exactly what is happening when it comes to traffic on that main road, and also looking at the building around that 123rd Street is like a tall tree where the only thing that you have is just some little plants in front of your porch and everything. So and looking at the density, so that is another thing that we need to take into consideration. And as being said in here, that the project is has to be compatible with the new train station and everything that is coming, but also it has to be compatible with the traffic and the pain that is going to bring up to the city. I think it looks good on paper, but now when we put it in reality, I think it's going to be like another load we're going to add to the back of our residents and everything. So to that, I just want to look into it and see exactly where we're heading with that, because it is something that we cannot just like overlook and then say move on with that, because that will actually bring some pain to our residents. So we have to, I think, to me, they have to take a look into it again and see if we can bring something that is kind of that has a balance between everything that has been said in here. And I'll just leave it as that.
All right. So my question would be, and I thank you guys for asking what type of hotel. I'm very concerned. I'd like to see more than a 3-star. I just want to put that out there. Really, I'm concerned that we have quality hotel or boutique style, and so, but more than 3-star, please.
Sure. No, and I just wanted to respond to that. The reason I said 3.5 stars is really because that's based on the type of amenities. It's not a huge property.
Okay.
When to get a 4 to 5 star, you need a spa, you need multiple restaurants. It's just not going to have that. But it's going to be a brand new quality hotel, a new hotel. And I think why I said to think of Courtyard Marriott, and I stay at those all the time, they're nice. And the stars aren't based on whether it's nice. It's based on, do you have 2 restaurants? Do you have multiple pools? Do you have spas? We obviously don't have the space for that, and it doesn't make sense in this location. But it will be a quality new hotel with amenities. It's going to be something I think the city will be proud of. I can't lie to you and say it's going to be a 5-star, because it simply doesn't have the components that require those ratings. But it's still going to be a very new, very good hotel that I think hopefully you'll all be proud of.
Right. Okay, and so this conditional use permit, they'll come back with the site plan, they'll come back to us, and we can have more of a say on what we want and what we don't want, right? Just want to put that on record.
That is absolutely correct, because one of the things that we'll do during DRC review is we look at how the site is finalized. You have a conceptual idea here, and then we fine-tune it through the DRC review process.
And it would obviously consider the traffic concerns that some of the residents have mentioned as well in that process.
Right. As their traffic engineer said, this has been through the county, so the county's actually also approved this traffic-wise. There'll be considerations for turn lanes, they'll be looking at all those things so that we have a finalized site plan based upon the final approvals, that the final study analyses that they come up with.
Right, so I just wanted to state that on the record.
Okay, and if I may clarify one thing. Hotel rooms are not density. Hotel rooms are not dwelling units. Hotel rooms are treated differently. It generates different traffic levels. It has different impacts. So it does not include the density. The density they could obtain, technically under the CUP, are 90 dwelling units for that size of property. But they're electing 76. So I just wanted to get that clarified a bit. I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding. With that, that was the end of my clarification, Vice Mayor.
Right, and I appreciate the fact that you did not circumvent the city and that you've come here to allow us to have an input. I really appreciate that, personally.
Agreed.
Yeah, so do we have a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Timothy to approve the item at tab V. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilwoman Timothy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Charles, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
The motion carries with a 3-1 vote.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing you at site plan approval.
Thank you.
Not me.
Tab W, a proposed quasi-judicial resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, approving a site plan for Delma Homes in substantially the attached form for a proposed development consisting of 18 two-story townhomes on 2 parcels of real property generally located south of Citadel Plaza, 13400 Northeast 3rd Court, west of 13330 at 13350 Northeast 3rd Court, south of 13310 Northeast 3rd Court, north of 13270 Northeast 3rd Court, specifically identified with Miami-Dade folio number 06-2230-000-0121 and 06-2230-000-0122, and totaling approximately 1.52 acres in accordance with Article 2, Division 7, Section 2-701, and Article 3, Division 2, Section 3-204 through Section 3-206, and Article 3, Division 3, Section 3-302 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. This item was tabled from the September 24 council meeting. Tab W.
Once again, for the record, Debbie Love, Development Services Director. This project is very familiar to you all. They came before you initially in requesting a conditional use permit to build 24 units, and they have come back with a as-of-right amount. So what you're looking at is what we're requesting from you tonight, and they're seeking your site plan approval for an 18-unit, 2-story townhomes with 45 surface parking spaces. They are anticipating this to be home ownership at this time. The subject property consists of 2 parcels. It's a little over an acre and a half in total. And the description is, as the Madam Clerk, mouthful of legal description, but it is south of Citadel Plaza, and you can see its location outlined here. It's currently zoned R4, a low-medium density residential on the future land use map, which only allows residential uses, a maximum height of 35 feet, and a maximum of 18 units as of right, and that is what they are proposing on this particular parcel of land. The applicant is here. They do have a brief presentation for you, and they are here to answer any other questions. The DRC approved the site plan back in July 23rd, subject to some of the standard conditions that we always have: underground utilities, green building, any utility easements that need to be provided. And with that, that is actually the end of my brief presentation. I promise to keep it brief, and the applicant is here to talk to you briefly as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, city staff, and guests in the community. Jerry Proctor is my name. I'm an attorney with office at 7600 Southwest 57th Avenue in South Miami. I'm here, as Ms. Love mentioned, for a familiar matter, familiar to, I think, all of you. Just as a matter of streamlining, I want to do my best to not be repetitive. I want to introduce some things into the record, and that hopefully will streamline matters. Introducing the city's land development regulations, a notice of tonight's hearing, including the postponement that was issued on the city's website 2 weeks ago because of the storm, the city's DRC comments, which Ms. Love referenced, and some additional material I will reference, including the approval of the plat by this council about 11 months ago. I am joined tonight by Paul Tremblay of Blue Water Development, who is one of the developers of this proposed 18-unit project. This project, as Ms. Love mentioned, is on 1.57 acres and contains or would contain 18 townhouse units, 2-story units, 3-bedroom units. Just as a matter of comparison, this property is triple the size of the application you just heard, with a total of 18 units. It is zoned R4. The R4 district has applied to this property since its annexation into the city. The R4 district allows, among other uses, college and university dormitories, daycares. We don't believe those uses would necessarily be compatible, but we believe that 18 townhouse units are compatible and will be compatible after development. We are here to ask the council to confirm the findings of the city staff. And that's very important in this matter because this is a by right or matter of right, as Ms. Love mentioned, application. This application complies with the city's land development code and with the comprehensive plan, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But that's very important because that really means that unlike our application of last May, which Ms. Love referenced, we are here not seeking any special conditional use, variances, zoning changes, or anything of that sort. We're seeking to confirm that the application meets the code, it meets the master plan, and if those facts are correct, and we believe they are, it's really incumbent legally upon the board to approve the application. Oh, okay. I know that you're all familiar with the property. I want to highlight a couple of elements that I think are important to the city and to the community. And you see the property on this site plan. It has access on 3rd Court coming into the development with the 18 units in the rear or the larger portion of the property, with one single access drive in and out, and an arterial drive coming through the development on each side of the homes. The development, and I want to focus on that entrance area, which is Northeast 3rd Court. There will be no units along Northeast 3rd Court. There will be no reason for anyone to loiter in that area. There will not be anyone's home. There will not be a community activity such as a pool where people would gather and potentially make noise. There will be a drive in and out. There is guest parking at the western end of that entrance drive. There is bicycle parking. There is a dry retention area for drainage improvement, and we'll talk a little more about that as we go. And there are mailboxes for the residents. There will not be any units or reasons for people to loiter in this area other than to park a car, pick up mail, walk the dog, and so forth. The units are located in the back or the western part of the property. There are 18 units, 2 stories, as I mentioned earlier. There are already 6-foot-high block walls surrounding the property. Along each side of the entrance drive on 3rd Court, to the rear of the residences along 3rd Court that abut our property, and to the rear of the property on the west side, furthest away from 3rd Court. These walls are already in place. They serve as buffers to and will serve as buffers from the impacts of this development to the community. The DRC, as I mentioned earlier, has granted administrative approval. That approval includes architectural review, public works, civil engineering review, zoning review, and transportation review. And I have included those materials in the notebook I presented. I think they're also in Ms. Love's report. They're also referenced in the staff recommendation. We have just one small issue with the recommendation that I'll take up a little bit later, but substantively we have no objection to the recommendation. The recommendation indicates, as Ms. Love mentioned, that this is a by right project, that it meets the code, and that it meets the comprehensive plan. On page 1 of the staff analysis report prepared by Mr. Cook, who was here earlier, to Ms. Love, the report says very clearly that the use is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and LDRs, and as such, it will not require changes to the comprehensive plan, nor will it require an amendment to the land development regulations or the zoning map. It concludes, all comments issued by the various departments have been satisfactorily addressed. I want to turn to drainage, because I know that's an important issue for the council and for the community. And I have a slide to that effect. These plans, this application has been approved by your Public Works Department. There are conditions attached to its approval that require certain green and LEED certified construction methods. We have no objection to those conditions. There is a provision in our engineering report, in our submittals to the city, that we will provide drainage and stormwater runoff retention in excess of the city code. One of the elements of that provision is in the slide here. The project has various runoff pipes to exfiltration trenches. The required length of those trenches in total for the whole property in order to meet the city's code is 49 feet. This development proposes a length of those exfiltration trenches of 261 feet. This is a provision that we included last year when we were seeking conditional use approval, when in essence we were asking the city for a bonus or a benefit. Even though we're not asking for that bonus or additional benefit any longer, we're maintaining that promise, that proffer to you as part of plans. We have 3 dry retention areas on the plans that will aid in the retention of water during a storm event. We have a French drain that we will have to construct along the right-of-way line of 3rd Court. And the project complies with your comprehensive plan, which talks about water and sewer demands, number of gallons. We took the most restrictive approach in your plan, which talks somewhat interchangeably about townhouses and apartments, and we comply with all of those requirements. We have 38.5% open space in this development, and we think that as well will aid in the retention of water during a storm, the retention when a storm becomes heavy or a lot of volume of water at any one time or over time. And Mr. Tremblay is here with me. He can talk more about those details if you would like.
Does that conclude your presentation?
I'll wrap things up. This is a by right development. It is consistent with your code, and I think worthy of your approval, not only from a legal standpoint, but from a best management practices standpoint, and from a compatibility standpoint. The application complies with all of the elements of your comprehensive plan, and we think it is a worthy development. It's relatively modest, and we think mitigating the impacts on the community, particularly along 3rd Court, in a very responsible way. We have one minor correction that I want to put in the record. Condition number 14 on page 4 of the staff report talks about the submittal of certain unification documents to unify the folio numbers on the property. This is a routine procedure through Miami-Dade County. We have no problem with it. It typically takes the county 4 or 5 months to achieve that. The staff has indicated that the normal requirement is to do that and produce that to the city's satisfaction before the issuance of a building permit. The way the condition reads is that that condition would have to be adhered to and presented this evening. That's not the city's normal practice. It's a condition and a requirement that we have no problem with, but we think it's really a clerical issue for staff, and I think staff has agreed that that one condition needs some minor adjustment. With that, Madam Vice Mayor, I will reserve some time for rebuttal. Happy to try to answer your questions.
Thank you. Before I open public hearing, Ms. Love, can you clarify for us the condition 14 that he just mentioned? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Typically, the parcels have to be unified before they obtain building permit. We try to get them moving earlier than that, but we have no objection to waiting before any building permits will be issued. They have to unify those parcels of land because they require an address and a single folio when they get to the building department. So we have no objection to it being prior to building permit. And we can modify that if you're okay with that.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I open that for the record. So I'm going to open public hearing to Eileen Bikaba and to Ms. Veronica Guzman, if both of you would come up. There are 2 mics, so. Okay.
Good evening. Eileen Bikaba again, 13350 Northeast 3rd Court. 8 years after the developer's first project, the Citadel, broke ground, we're still flooding from that development. It also complies with the city comprehensive plan and land use development. It does not change the fact that only 10 days ago, it flooded 3rd Court. I have already submitted those videos to the city. After the developer illegally cleared and elevated the same Delmas Homes property, they don't tell you that they flooded us from it for 3 long years while they built the storage unit. Last year, I produced a video proving that water was coming from that development, flooding 3rd Court, and they were told and made to put protective measures that will have to be removed in order to build this development. When will this city finally stand and protect people that you annexed without a vote and have flooded us out since 2018? In addition, the previous development have had problems with traffic, sewage in our street. And only today, at 11 a.m., a truck came and brought down our lines, our utility lines, like they frequently do, with internet and electricity lines going down on 3rd Court. When will it stop? We ask, the density has already been increased by the city by changing us to R4, so each of the properties on 3rd Court can become 3 units, bringing us up to 60 before their stuff comes on here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Guzman?
Veronica Guzman, 540 Northwest 127th Street. I want to address, because I feel like we are at the mercy of developers because of the mismanagement of funds in the past. Because of the mismanagement of funds in the past, we've had money for this water plant. And I feel like we're paying the price now. I'm all for growth. I'm all for affordable housing period. But we need to be responsible, and we need to do it in a way that it's sustainable. I live in District 4. What's happening on 3rd Court doesn't directly affect me, but anyone who lives in the city is my neighbor. And when my neighbor is being adversely affected because they have to live under these conditions, it doesn't make me happy. And I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna speak up about it. I want for developers to come, for the council to be responsible, and hold these people accountable. Don't say in your plans you're gonna make it one way, and then when it happens, you illegally raise your elevation 3 feet to continuously cause more problems to them. So I just pray that you guys do a little bit more consideration before approving these type of projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Davey and Lori, I don't want to mess up your last name. Thank you. If you could come up, please.
Hi, Deborah Davies, 1165 Northeast 127th Street. I just actually want to mirror what just Veronica was saying. I do not live directly on 3rd Court. I live in District 2, but it absolutely breaks my heart what these people have been going through on 3rd Court. And by clear cutting all those trees and the new development there, they get flooded every single time. Anytime it rains, we are all calling them to see if they're okay. And I just hope that you just don't approve something that's not only, going to make things worse, but not fix the problems that are there. with all the traffic coming out on Northeast Third Court, those lights are going to go directly into single-family homes, and there's no way to avoid that. And I just, I just really feel for my neighbors, and I hope you would too. And I hope you don't approve something that is going to make matters even worse than it already is for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Jose Rivera and Asento Jourdain. Oh, go ahead. You can go ahead. They all follow.
Hi. Lori Landgrebe. I'm at 385 Northeast 131st Street. I am actually on the corner of Northeast 3rd Court and 131st Street. So I am living this horrible nightmare on a pretty daily basis, including today when I couldn't get out of my driveway because an 18-wheel truck had demolished one of my trees and took out the power lines and internet lines on the street, which we have quite frequently from the Citadel development. Anyway, we're here again for at least I feel like it's at least a dozen times opposing this very flawed development. I mean, I really think that this is, the perfect example of putting a square peg in a round hole. I totally understand the need for housing. I totally understand building up towards more residential units, but this does not work. They are building on watershed property that has been protecting this neighborhood for decades and decades and decades. The second that this land was cleared, it has flooded out the whole area. The berm that was put in as a protective measure has helped somewhat. However, that berm, the minute that you guys pass this, that berm has to come down, and we will, once again, we're already being flooded, but that is going to cause catastrophic flooding to the area. I know that Mr. Proctor talks about by right, but we have rights too. We do have rights to be able to enjoy our property and really not have this safety issue every time it rains. I just hope that you
Thank you for your time.
reconsider.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Rivera.
Jose Rivera, 13325 Northeast 3rd Court. He spoke that he cared about the other developer of the people in that area. You represent us, and we've been coming here and trying to put an end to this. Now, I asked you, 3rd Avenue, there's an exit that they can use, but they're gonna need your help to do that. So I'm asking you, when I was here one day, you said, you told the lawyer, please help the people on 3rd Court. That's not his job. It's your job to help the people that you represent. So we've been coming here and asking you. So I'm saying now, there is a way for them to go to 3rd Avenue if you work with them. And what's so hard with working with them because listen, the abundance of traffic that we're gonna get now, that's 18 homes, that's 36 more cars, not counting if they got kids. So that's even more traffic. Outside of everything we got from the Citadel, the traffic now that's there, you gotta equalize the traffic. You have to be fair. So we look at you, if you're representing us and we come in, you've seen us for how many years now? You can work with the developer. There's a way you can get it done on 3rd Avenue or even Griffin Road. You got another developer coming. I'm sure he's willing to work with you to figure out something. He just needs help. Why does it all have to fall on 3rd Court? You say that you represent us. Are you going to represent us? I look at you because you're the one. It's my house. They're going to be coming straight in and straight out in front of my house. I've been there. I'm going to be soon like close to 40 years. And that's what I got to do, get close to retirement. And that's what I got to look forward to.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Jourdain? After him, Lumen Mesidor.
Yes. This is Senator Jordan. 13329 Northeast Third Court. Many people, you make already the description, the third court. You work in the city, you know more third court. Donc, if you want to protege the resident, people reside in the third court, donc you know if you can do the best or bad. Donc, you have to decide everything you want. Okay? Parce que I don't have to talk to you about the third court. You know more than me, third court. People are déjà make la description for you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. And Mr. Barreto?
Good night. Hernando Barreto, 11930 North Bayshore Drive. As other residents have mentioned, I don't live in that area, but I have seen and I have participated in several meetings when they have described the problems that they have since they were annexed to North Miami. And the issue has not been solved for all the flooding and has been just ignored, and these issues coming back again and again. The developer claimed that he is compliant with the comprehensive plan. I'm glad, because the city is approving also changes on the comprehensive plan used to accommodate developers. But the issue that has been long in this area has not been solved. A moratorium was proposed last night, and was a moratorium for all development, and especially in this area, until the infrastructure situation for drainage and traffic and water be solved. Then my position on this is this project should be not approved. I oppose on that until the city really fix the issues that has been notified, has been brought to the city for many years. At least I have seen this for 2 years, and I know that they have not been solved. Thank you.
Thank you, but before we go on, we do not have quorum, any direction on what we need to do.
I was just asking the same question. Do we know if the councilman's coming back?
I think some food showed up in the back.
Okay. I mean, you can continue, you just won't be able to vote on the item.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a 5-minute recess. So let's adjourn. Actually, let's just do it a 10-minute. I'm sorry, guys. Let's do a 10-minute recess. We'll be right back. Okay?
I don't know that that's why they stepped out. I could be wrong, so allow me to retract my statement about there being food and that's why they're off. In other words, something happened. They left the dais. Yeah, thank you. I will so miss this too. Well, we should take this till midnight. No, I won't be.
Okay, we calling the meeting back to order. Okay. Okay. Ms. Love, did you have a presentation or as a rebuttal? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to take roll call before.
Sure.
Mayor Desilme, Councilwoman Timothy, Councilman Galvin, Councilman Charles, Vice Mayor Esteban Irvin.
Present.
Vice Mayor, you have a quorum to proceed.
At this point, I'm finished with my presentation. I believe that Mr. Proctor would like to follow up.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. This application, as I stated earlier, excuse me, complies with your regulations and your comprehensive plan. And as a result, unlike other applications that you hear, including our application of last May, it's really incumbent upon the board to approve the application unless there are factual errors in the recommendation or in the plans as they relate to the Land Development Code or the city's comprehensive plan. We do not believe there are any such errors. We believe that the project provides community benefits. We've heard that term in your deliberations this evening. Community benefits that are spelled out in the comprehensive plan. Modern housing, affordable housing, and economic development, and environmental stewardship in terms of LEED certification and improvements in terms of retention and stormwater management that are greater than the code requires. We think that this is a pace setter, frankly, for the city in that regard, because we understand the sensitivity of the issue in the area, in the long deliberations that you have had and that we have had. Based on the one clerical correction that we suggested to condition 14, we asked for your approval, and we're here to answer any questions, and we thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, so as this was mentioned, this is in my district, so I'm going to take the privilege of speaking first. As you all said, that this development has come before. And when they came before, they were asking for some bonus units or floating units, and I actually voted against it. Now they're coming as of right to build townhomes, and but I just have one question for you, Mr. Proctor. It was mentioned that the entrance is going to be on Third Court.
That's correct.
Can you consider having the entrance on the other side instead of having it on Third Court?
Madam Vice Mayor, we do not have any other option than to have entrance and access on Third Court.
Why don't you have any other?
That is the only property that we own. The other properties are zoned differently. The properties that some of the neighbors mentioned are zoned differently. The city does not allow what they call dissimilar land uses. It does not allow access through one to the other. The county code, the subdivision code, requires that the development have direct public access. The only direct public access in that county code applies in the city. It's the subdivision code, chapter 28.
Okay.
The only direct public access that we have is on Third Court.
Okay. Ms. Love, can you please give us your professional statement on that, please? Is that correct, what he's just...
That is correct.
Is there anything else?
Yes, to have direct access, and going through another property would not be approved neither by us nor Miami-Dade County, because it does go against the platting requirements that when we had to go through that replat.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just wanted that answered on the record. There is also concern about if we were to approve this tonight, that the berm would go away, and there's concern about flooding, and I can attest to that. What can be done? Did you?
Good evening. Paul Tremblay, 1161 Northwest 14th Court. There has to be some interim measures. Right now, the berm is still there. We would have to elevate the access to go over the berm until the drainage is installed. But once the drainage system is installed and approved, then that berm would eventually go away. It would just be a phasing operation.
So the berm would still be there?
During construction.
During construction, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And then once the new drainage system is in place, then the berm would be relieved.
Okay. Those are all of my questions. Anyone else have a question?
I guess thank you, Vice Mayor. I guess my question is for staff. I know that there was the septic to sewer conversion happening and so forth. Will all of those projects also help alleviate the flooding that's been occurring in that area?
I would need to defer to Public Works Director.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. My apologies. Karen Fiddler, Public Works Director, through the manager, Councilwoman. No, it's totally separate, so it has nothing to do with the stormwater project.
Is there any stormwater projects planned for that area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it currently in the pipeline or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, and there's actually a study. When are we going to get a report on that study?
The stormwater study, as planned, I think it'll be done within another month, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll follow up and I'll let you know for sure. Yeah.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay. Councilman Pierre-François, any questions?
Good.
All right. I will go ahead and make a motion to approve this project. Again, the reason I want to say clearly to the resident, especially the Third Court resident, again, I want to highlight that this project came before, asked for additional units, I said no. But now they are as of right, and legally, I've been advised that we can be sued, and this is as of right. And they have complied, and they've complied with all of the requirement, and staff is recommending it. And so I just want to state that on the record. I will continue to push the developers, like I always do in projects, to make sure that they continue to work with the community. But I am moving for approval. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Estimate Irving to approve the item at tab W. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Timothy. Vice Mayor Estimate Irving, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Charles, how do you vote?
Yes.
As of 10:36, Councilman Galvin is present. Councilwoman Timothy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
And I apologize because I didn't even realize we had restarted. Can somebody restate the motion for me, please, Madam Clerk?
It's a motion to approve the item at tab W.
Did we talk anything about drainage and talk about the berm and any of that stuff?
I did. I spoke about berm. Developer will still have the berm there until I can have him restate what he stated, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Yeah, sure. The berm will remain in place during construction. Once the drainage infrastructure is installed, then the berm will be removed because the drainage will be in place to hold the water.
Okay, I'll vote yes, but I will follow up with the developer to express some of the concerns that have been expressed to me. And I apologize that I was off the floor for a couple of minutes in the restroom.
The motion
So I
carries with a
didn't realize it was
4-0
back.
vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tab X, a proposed quasi-judicial resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving an application for a conditional use permit in substantially the attached form for the conversion of 103 dormitory units to residential dwelling units for proposed redevelopment consisting of 4 apartment buildings that are comprised of 160 unit, 4-story building, two-story buildings using a combined 32 units, 1 2-story, 11-unit building with 138 parking spaces on 5 parcels of real property located at the following addresses: 1704, 1725, and 1740 Northeast 125th Street, and 1705 and 1735 Northeast 124th Street, specifically identified with Miami-Dade folio numbers 06-2229-007-0390, 06-2229-011-0010, 06-2229-007-0350, 06-2229-007-0400, and 06-2229-007-0410, totaling approximately 2.75 acres in accordance with Article 3, Division 4, Sections 3-402 through 3-407, Article 4, Division 2, Section 4-205, and Article 4, Division 3, Sections 4-304, and 4-310 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. Tab X.
Once again, Debbie Love with Development Services.
I'm sorry, Madam Vice Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I didn't realize this was on the agenda, and I would have liked to met with the applicant to better understand what was being done here. If we could have it tabled to the next meeting?
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Table till
the next meeting.
Is it possible that we could hear?
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Timothy to table the item at tab X to the next regular council meeting. The motion was seconded by Councilman Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with a 4-0 vote.
Tab Y.
Tab Y, a proposed quasi-judicial resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving a site plan for a mixed-use residential project in substantially the attached form for a proposed development consisting of an 8-story, 31-unit apartment building with 1,723 square feet of ground floor retail space and 54 parking spaces on 1 parcel of real property located at 14440 Northeast 6th Avenue, specifically identified with Miami-Dade folio number 06-2219-000-1540 and totaling approximately 0.325 acres in accordance with Article 2, Division 7, Section 2-701, and Article 3, Division 3, Section 3-204 through 3-206, and Article 3, Division Section 3-302 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. Tab Y.
Thank you for reading all that, but I too would like to make a motion to table this item until the next meeting.
Second.
Tabled it, so.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Estime Irvin to table the item at tab Y to the next regular council meeting. The motion was seconded by Councilman Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries with a 4-0 vote.
All right. Going somewhere. Okay. Citizen forum is now open.
Good night again. Hernando Barreto, 11930 North Bayshore Drive. I am here in order to again emphasize what is happening in the city with some aggressive developers. We have talked a lot about the comprehensive plan that spent 2 years in preparation, and then a developer came, continuing to change the development, the comprehensive plan, and change the limits that are in the LDRs from 11 floors to 24 floors in the base zone area. But they open a way to change, destroy completely the comprehensive plan. This developer is not even property owner, is not resident, and change the comprehensive plan without any consideration. They did that design and then changed the city code to that design. But there is a precedent that the city attorney has allowed things to go in the wrong way for the city. The city attorney allowed the vote in September 24 to do a zoning change with only 3 votes in favor when that item, zoning change, requires supermajority. The developer has used many tricks, and one of the tricks was they failed to change the city code in order to require supermajority for those kind of changes, and then they didn't get that in their way. Then they hire a person that is a family relative of Cassandra in order to recuse herself.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Supermajority was today mentioned in a different way.
Thank you for your time, sir.
And the attorney has refused to respond any request.
May I? I need to respond.
Go ahead.
First of all, I don't represent you. I represent this board and I represent the city. I represent this board and I represent this city. I gave you all my legal advice. The situation today was completely different with the situation that he's talking about. The mayor's not here today, but the mayor did not recuse himself. He could be here. The applicant could have decided, you know what, I'm going to wait till the mayor gets here, and then he would have been here for the vote. That's a completely different situation. And unless Mr. Barreto has a legal license, a JD, I don't think you should be taking any kind of legal advice from him. Thank you.
Citizens Forum is still open. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask that. I'm sorry, one second, Eileen. I'm going to ask that you are respectful. If not, we're going to ask you to leave, okay? Thank you so much. You had your time to speak. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, Eileen Bigaba, 13350 Northeast 3rd Court. The annexation papers for 3rd Court, which was done without any vote from us, says that North Miami annexed us to enhance, exact quote, its fiscal and economic base. Today, you have shown that money is all you care about. You have enhanced. Congratulations. You got 250% increase in taxes from us, and you have collected millions from this developer on this will be the 3rd project. This was all done by who has the most money to sue you. Congratulations.
Citizen Forum is still open.
I just wanted to quickly put on the record that I did distribute to each one of you a proposal that we received earlier from one of our local business owners, Castus McKnight.
Is it pertinent to something we're...
Go ahead, Citizen Forum is open. Go ahead. Oh, thank you. What is this? What's going on here? What's this one?
Thank you. William Prevotel, 12,000 North Bay Shore Drive. May I clarify that what I'm about to say is not disparaging of any of the current developers? I'm not saying anything negative. I'm not trying to stop any projects. but I might show how the Bay Shore Zone could be reimagined. After 20 years of working on height, it wasn't about height, it's about trying to get better projects for our community. May I list some of the benefits that are possible for all interests, and I'll read through this list. For the present landowners and developers, sellable square footage is increased by 50+% in the first 3 towers alone. A single master plan approval avoids multiple contentious submissions. Unified on a common track, economies of scale and quality are maximized. Marketing is wholly optimized, eliminating competitive undermining. With grander efficiencies, both profit margin and gross profit increase for the developer. For the city and staff, height may be increased, but the total density is reduced by about 300 units. A singular comprehensive vision is presented, refined, and approved. Rather than a cacophony, sequential construction is less problematic. Bay Shore gets elevated with all new infrastructure paid by developers. With greater sellable or greater quality, tax revenue is far, far higher. For the neighborhood, for the people of the city of North Miami. Rather than disjointed identities, the skyline can be organized and iconic. Walks between towers lead to public observation platforms on the bay. Rainfall collected from site water, for site water and sanitary prevents street flooding. Elevated street eliminates trucking fill and creates a safe refuge. If the 3 developers concur, the White House Insight becomes a city park. And that does not destroy the existing park. It creates additional parks along the street, and to the south an additional park. The park space is dramatically increased. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you for considering our potential for a broadly rewarding vision. This is possible if everybody got on the same page. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Citizen Forum is still open. Citizen Forum is still open, and Citizen Forum is officially closed. Councilman Scott, any report?
I guess the only thing I'll report is that the city of North Miami has now successfully purchased the what's now called the Galvin Center. It was brought up last night in a political debate that we didn't have the money, and some people alluded that we were financially mismanaged as a result. I want to clarify that on September the 30th, we purchased the facility from Wildcat LLC, owned by Jimmy Tate, exactly as was promised in the lease that we signed 3 years ago. We signed a 15-year lease with a option to purchase in year 3. We did that. I thank my fellow members of the council for making sure that that money was available so that we could purchase the building straight up and take any potential future cost off the backs of taxpayers. Obviously, the $11.25 million purchase price, coupled with the $3 million that we'd paid in rent over the last 3 years, $14 million, we would have never been able to purchase the land and build a property like that at that price. So it was a bargain. It has been extremely well utilized. Folks call me every day to try to book it. I don't keep the calendar, call the center. But I know that they're already booking into 2025, well into 2025. So it has been a place where kids can go after school to play games, where professional basketball players come, art exhibits are held, just on and on. It's a super well utilized piece of property, and this council upheld our pledge to the community that we made 3 years ago that we would purchase it, and that has been done. It is now a full City of North Miami facility, so thanks to our city management as well for making sure that that got done. Other than that, if this is the last time I address you tonight, it obviously has been a lot of fun and has been an adventure. I've seen a lot of different things in 25 years in this seat, but I'm excited to hand the keys over to whomever will take the seat next. We need some new leadership and new ideas. All of us as politicians have shelf lives, and if you don't recognize when to step down on your own, the voters will do it for you. So I'm glad to be leaving on my terms with hopefully a reputation that has served the community well. So thank you, council, management, and community for allowing me to serve you for 25 years. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Cassandra Timothy.
Just want to say good night, my kid. But to Councilman Scott Galvin, it's been a pleasure. You've been a wealth of knowledge to the city, and I hope you don't stay away too much. I look forward to coming by for the lights and so forth. To everyone who participated and assisted with the third annual, was it the third annual? Yeah, Know Me Business Summit. I wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a huge success. We had over 974 attendees throughout the 3 days, so that was amazing. So thank you to the CRA and the city. On Thursday, we'll be hosting a How to Apply workshop. As stated earlier, this is for the 2 grants, the CRA and the city grant for home rehabilitation, to learn the application process and, of course, how to apply if you need assistance. And, of course, that is it for me, and good night.
Thank you for your report. Councilman Pierre Franche Charles.
Not much to report, but just want to say thank you to Councilman Galvin. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being on like the front line for so many occasions. You have seen it, you have done it, and I've been here for I'm like the shorter version of everybody else, and I've seen what is going on, and I just keep on asking myself how you manage for all this year, but I can tell you that with you we have a wealth of experience. Just want you to understand that you are not going to be on the field, but please be on the sideline, because I will call you as I always do, because we need to make sure that the city of North Miami just keep on moving forward. And to me, you are like the library of this board. So for some of the questions that we're gonna have, and for some of the tough issues, so you will get that phone call, and I promise that I will get back to the gym so that we can see you more often. Thank you very much, and thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk report.
Well, it's obvious that I'm going to give you some election reminders. So if you would like to vote by mail and have not already requested your vote by mail ballot, you have until Thursday, October 24th. Early voting is underway. I know you can't really tell by the activity at the library, but it is underway. And polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day until November 3rd. And November 5th, of course, you will have to vote at your assigned precinct, but during early voting, you can go to the library or anywhere else in Miami-Dade County to cast your vote. Also want to give a huge shout out to the Hispanic Heritage Month Committee. Millie, Janai, Brooks, Yvonne, Rosa, Amanda, Ernesto, Jimmy, Marilu, Mylene, Brian, Dunia, my favorite, oh my God, Cynthia, Arlette, Tiny Cell, Chanel, Georgette, Taisha, and the entire comms department. I had an amazing time at La Gran Fiesta. So a huge shout out to Millie for that, and I got to meet El Micha, so my night was made, the rest of my year was made. There's a community benefits workshop, a community benefits agreement workshop happening on Saturday. We will be serving brunch. And, just wanted to remind folks that right now I'm wearing a mix between pink and purple. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is honored by wearing purple, and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And my mom is a survivor of breast cancer. And I almost lost her twice. And of course, I think about my family and of course, a lot of some of our colleagues and some of our residents who are still battling. So I just really want y'all to think about them, continue to support the fight for the cure. And as it relates to domestic violence, it costs Miami-Dade County $75 million every year. So we have to participate in advocacy around domestic violence to ensure that we are helping the 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men, and the 1 in 10 high school students who are victims each year to domestic violence. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Thank you so much, Councilman Galvin, for your 25 years of leadership. And I won't call you because I feel like people deserve to rest when they retire. So I'm gonna leave you alone.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
So I usually don't speak, but on this occasion, I was actually looking back to see how long I've known you, Councilman Galvin. I think it's 2008. We've not always been on the same side of issues. I've never thanked you, but back in 2012, I had one of my first items before the city, and we weren't seeing eye to eye then. But you voted in favor of my item. And what that told me then and what it tells me now is, regardless of what the item that comes before you, you will fairly analyze it and vote your conscience. And in the time that I've been here, that's what you've done. Again, we've not always been on the same side of things, but I always knew what I was going to get from you, and I appreciate that. And good luck, and get some rest.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
City Manager's report.
Good evening, and just to echo again, thank you so much for 25 years of service to the City of North Miami, and we hope that we can see what you're going to do in your future. You will not be a stranger to the city because we love you here, and we'd love to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so before we go, I'd like to thank everyone that made Government Week, the annual business breakfast, possible. Thank you. I see you in the audience, Dave and Mike McDermott, very great supporters, come every year. Thank you for being there. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Cassandra Timothy for that very great summit, business summit, Teach to Fish, and the opportunity to participate. Thank you for sharing that. The Hispanic Heritage Month Committee, thank you for all that you do. I had a great time at La Gran Fiesta and danced almost all night long. And Scott, I know we keep telling you goodbye, but I thank you. Thank you so much for the 25 years. Thank you. You know, and I've said this a couple of times, but one of the ordinance that I sponsored that you supported that meant the world to me was the Youth Council. The Youth Council, and you know, there was a little hesitation along some of my colleagues, and you make sure you help me garner that support. So thank you so much for that, and that support. So thank you so much for that, and we wish you well. And yeah, you're gonna get some rest, but I think this is in you. So I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. And with all that said, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn made by Galvin, seconded by Charles. All in favor? Any opposed? The time is now 11 p.m. Good night.